From the Superbook.com sports desk, I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The Titans ended the preseason with a come-from-behind 26-23 win over the Arizona Cardinals on Saturday night at Nissan Stadium. Malik Willis started and played most of the game. He went 15 of 23 for 131 yards with a touchdown and an interception.
Willis looking into the end zone, firing short. There's Burks at the 10, Burks at the 5, Burks in the end zone. Traylon Burks. Touchdown! Titans!
That was Malik's TD. Meanwhile, Logan Woodside completed 5 of 9 passes for 43 yards on the final drive of the game. Scored on a run on 4th down from the 9-yard line with 52 seconds remaining to lift the Titans to the win. Nolensville finished the Little League World Series in 4th place, falling to Chinese Taipei 2-0 on Sunday in the 3rd-place consolation game. Vanderbilt cruised past Hawaii 63-10 on Saturday night, Week 0 college football action. It was the most points Vandy had scored against an FBS opponent since 1941. And Nashville SC routed the Vancouver Whitecaps 3-0 on Saturday night in British Columbia. For the boys in gold, they claimed their first back-to-back wins since April. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
A very good Monday morning to you live from Dixon, Tennessee, Greystone Golf Club. It is the 104.5 The Zone 2022 Summer Golf Classic, and we are ready to start our morning off here with you. The Tennessee Vols play football this week. The Tennessee Titans have wrapped up preseason. We've got Rashad Weaver talking with us. We have got 4 hours of action-packed energy and maybe a couple of lost golf balls in the process. Alongside Vol for Life, Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer back in our 104.5 The Zone studios. My name is Will Bowling. It is great to have you with us, and we have got a beautiful sunrise.
Yes.
Ramon, over the hill here at Greystone.
You know what? Anytime I'm on a golf course and I see like the sunrise or sunset, I think to myself, man, I want to get good at golf. And then I go play it, Will, and I'm not, okay?
Not at all.
Not at all, man. But what a beautiful day. You see the red, you see the blues. Do we get a little purple in that sunrise too?
A little bit.
A little bit. One of those type of days. Although Kirby says we're going to get killed by the sun coming up soon, though, because of the rays through the windows, Will. Are we doing enough to cover ourselves right now?
I don't think so. We both wore, you have like the half zip
I do.
with short sleeves.
I do.
I went the full half zip because the Tennessee football Vols play football this week, and I wanted to manifest fall by wearing long sleeves.
You know what?
I haven't done very well in controlling the weather.
No, you have not. Because this morning my truck said 81 degrees, just so you know. So it is actually toasty already outside, man. So whatever you thought you were doing, do the opposite of that next time. Okay? Just a little word to the wise right
So I'll
there.
wear like a tank top next time and just go like no sleeves.
Yeah, pretty much, and some hoochie daddy shorts.
Perfect. Oh, Lord. I'll just be Buck Rising. 615-737-1045. Is the number. The Titans defeat the Arizona Cardinals on Saturday night, 26-23. We've got some MVPs to hand out.
We do.
Over the preseason. It is the award that everyone wants but nobody needs. The Ramon and Will preseason MVP of 2022 Tennessee Titans training camp. I'm trying to think what other worthless trophies it is up there with that nobody really.
Second place in a golf tournament that was won by Brett Kern through HL.
Perfect start. To the day.
Was that a good dig right
up
there?
Up there with AFC finalist
banner.
A banner that hangs in the Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Jonathan Schaefer, are there any other worthless trophies?
What about NIT?
Oh, NIT.
NIT's not a worthless trophy. I mean, you're happy to have it if you win it.
Well, not if you're Tennessee.
Well, technically, though, like it's still you're the 65th best team, technically.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, a worthless trophy? The 1992 Knox Little League trophy that I won because I didn't do crap in order to earn that trophy, yet I still got one because the team won the championship.
I got another one, too.
What's that?
What about my 8th grade most improved football trophy that I still have at home? What about that one?
Is that when you 8th grade most improved.
Well, how about, since we're talking about that, this past winter, dog, I just got to a point to where I was cleaning out the garage and stuff like that, right? And I was just like, I have like this big old Tupperware just filled with trophies. I had like so many from high school. I had like an AAU tournament. I had my most improved, my all tournaments. I had like high school trophies. It was basically like the coaches giving trophies from your school.
Okay.
Those types, like the banquets, right?
Yeah, right.
Man, how about I went ahead and trashed them?
Did you really?
I did.
That's a tough day.
I did keep my first ever trophy I got. I got my Mr. Football trophy.
Okay.
Have that one. And maybe like 2 more. But I was thinking to myself, my kids are getting these extravagant big tournament rings. They've gotten medals. They don't want my
rings.
Extra crap. Yeah, they
Really?
give out rings now.
Do they really?
They are like
At what
gigantic.
age does one get their
Every
first
age.
ring? Really?
Every age.
Oh,
And I'm guessing, though, with these baseball
what have we
tournaments.
become as a nation?
Dog, listen to me, Will. I'll have to send you a picture of them.
Okay.
But they're legitimately like fat, like championship rings for like second, first, and third place and stuff. Well, only first and second usually get a winner, and runner up usually gets them.
Okay.
But yeah, I tossed pretty much all of my trophies. Is that bad?
No, like what kind of, like, how far back do these trophies go?
Some. Let's go back to 97, 98.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of history.
That's
thrown
what
away
I'm
here.
saying. Like, yeah. Curb said I'm young. You look at me like you old, dude.
I was just going to say, I
I'm
don't
not going to tell you how old I was in 1997.
Yeah, it's because I don't think you were born yet.
Easy. I was.
Were you?
I was born.
What year were you born?
97. Yeah, that's true. Kirby Allen Kirby is like, buddy, I've got golf clubs in the back of my car right now that are older than you.
That's straight up.
Probably true.
Yeah.
I think I also have golf clubs that are older than me that have been passed down to me.
But yeah, dude, speaking of just worthless trophies, man, we're going to give out our MVPs, though, but that could mean a good thing in this situation.
Yeah.
Simply because if we noticed you, then you probably going to make this team.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
We brought it full circle.
615-737-1045. Stay tuned for that coming up over the course of the show today. We're going to go through the headlines of Titans training camp coming up here at 6:20. Take a look at the big decisions, the big cuts that John Robinson will possibly have to make. A couple of guys impressed. Some of the same guys that we've been talking about throughout camp impressed. And Ramon Foster, one of those guys, is going to join us at the beginning of Hour 4 today. Rashad Weaver, who is a strong candidate to be one of the MVPs on the defensive side of the football, I think, for the Titans in training camp.
He's got to be one of those guys. If you're a fan of the Titans, you've been watching this preseason, Rashad Weaver has to be one of those candidates for preseason MVP, which in this situation, it could be anybody. It could be a vet. I mean, heck, if there's somebody that needed to actually be good this year to make a team, was there one of those guys on the Titans roster this year?
A veteran
that needed it.
DeMarcus Walker
yes.
is a veteran who kind of needed to make the team and certainly has.
Yes, that's true.
That's a guy who obviously has played in Denver, played in Houston, but now as a sixth-year guy for the Titans, I would put him in that category.
Okay, for sure. I would also go Dontrell Hilliard.
Yeah?
I was thinking about him. He was a veteran that needed it because they'll find roles for guys like that. That's not the primary running back, and he actually carved out a good little niche for himself this preseason with pass catching and showing that he is a valuable third down back too.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike Keith told us a couple weeks ago, said that he thinks that is the most valuable and the best third down running back the Tennessee Titans have had in the last 20 years. And it is nice the luxury that team has right now of having a healthy third down running back going into the season and knowing who that guy is just based off of the role that guy plays. I mean, heck, the Kansas City Chiefs a couple of years ago won a Super Bowl, and they signed LaShawn McCoy like the national anthem was being finished, home of the Brit, and they signed LaShawn McCoy. Like, that is how quick into the season that guy was added to the roster.
Yeah, crazy, right, man? But of course, there are going to be some veterans that probably get pushed into retirement. But I'll say this, on the offensive line side, I know a few teams that are going to be needing those cut linemen, man, as far as depth and as far as just overall quality. I think we all this year, especially Tennessee Titans fans, have learned how important those front five guys are, and not just that, in hopes that that group bring it together very, very soon, because this past weekend we saw a bit of Malik, man, as we get into that later on into the show, that I was excited to see, Will.
Yeah.
It was a good bit of that, dude.
Malik Willis took a step, and that is going to be kind of the subject of the conversation we have here in hour one, is exactly what he told us long-term about his short-term and his long-term future as the Tennessee Titans quarterback. I'll admit it's too early for me over the course of one preseason to say what his long-term future really is.
Yeah.
I think we learned a little bit more clarity about what the short-term timeline could possibly be, about when Malik Willis could factor into the discussion for the Tennessee Titans at quarterback. Is that fair to say at this point?
That's very fair to say, man. And that should be the right approach to it too, Will. It shouldn't be a this or that. Like, no, this is an open book type of plan, man. As far as the team growing with him growing within the team, this next few weeks, and I say few weeks because I can't foresee him, being in a position to start playing early in the season. Every rep he takes in practice has to be a game rep.
Yeah.
Every single rep that he takes, man. As far as his overall growth, like, that's what the young quarterbacks are expected to do. That scout team period isn't just for you to just look at cards and throw. No. This is about you growing as a player. So I'm excited to see what's going to be. And again, I might end up admitting something that I didn't think I would. I wasn't overly sold, I'll be honest with you, with Malik.
Yeah.
And these 3 games that he's had has shown continual growth.
Take a step.
And I'm just like, all right, Mo. There might be something here. I see
He's
now
got something.
what the fans are excited about a little bit. Let's just throw that out there as a teaser. We come back to that. I'm going to jot that down to actually make a point, Will, to say, you know what, Mo? You wasn't right.
All right. That is a good thing that we can get into as the show goes on today. 615-737-1045. I want to know here before we take our first break as well, Jonathan Schaefer back in our Cumulus Nashville studios. On a scale of 1 to 10, Schaefer, how worried were you about me waking up and being here on time today? Be honest.
I wasn't that concerned about it.
Oh, really?
No, I figured about a 3.
All right.
And the other thing is that I roughly
Let's go.
know where you live, so you were going to get to the location one way or the other.
So I want to apologize to the people of the good city of Dixon, Tennessee, because I set for myself about 6 alarms that were affectionately called "oh crap" alarms that were between the hours of 5 and 6 a.m. this morning. One of them was literally at 5:35. I don't know what I possibly would have done had I just slept through, and that one had been the one to wake me up. Yeah. But I was like driving down the interstate to get here, and even off the interstate, like on the back roads to get here.
Yeah.
And I would just like have the PTSD because my alarms were going off as I was driving.
Yeah.
And you know that feeling when you're like out in the public, out in the wild, and someone has a ringtone that is the alarm that you wake up to in the morning.
Yeah.
And you're just like, your left eye starts twitching. You're like, no, that's what I woke up to this morning. I want to go to sleep. That's how I felt like driving here this morning.
I've had people have their ringtone, my alarm, and I know exactly what you're like. Why do you use that as a ringtone? And secondly, why do I hear your ringtone? Okay, like what about vibrate? Like we're not doing that. Like I don't even know.
In the year of our Lord 2022, I don't know why anyone's still using ringtones.
Yeah, exactly. Like legitimately, Will, it bothers me to be like, dude. I was listening. I was around somebody the other day, and their text message just kept going off. I'm like, yo, there is a vibrate option on your phone right now. Like, we don't really need to hear every text that you get or every email.
Humble brag, you have friends. All right, some of us have to be our own friends. Not really, but still.
Man, that was by far one of the most disturbing things in 2022. It's like, there's an option, right? You tell people that.
People got smartwatches. We don't need to hear that.
We don't need to. It buzzes my
Keep
my
that in your
wrist
pocket.
and my phone. Like, dog,
Yeah, right.
What are we doing here? Don't get me started, Will.
615-737-1045 at Ramon and Will on Twitter.
Yeah.
What is the most useless trophy that you own? Because I promise you, it probably has more use than the preseason MVP of Ramon and Will on 104.5 The Zone. But we're going to give those out as the show goes on today. Coming up next, our headlines from the weekend, our headlines from the Titans win over the Arizona Cardinals. Who impressed, who didn't impress? Before we take a look at the entire preseason, we take a look at Saturday night. You can react with us too, 615-737-1045. We're live from 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic here at Greystone Golf Club, presented by Ferguson HVAC. Underway here this morning. Special thanks to TriStar Beverage, King & Associates, Southern Trophy House for making this event possible. We dive into the weekend. Coming up next, it's Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone.
Summer's over, but that joint pain is still there. It's time to do something about it. And it's Ramon Foster. I want you to call QC Kinetics now. You've put it off long enough. It's time to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees and back and shoulders and hips, okay? QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Regenerative medicine uses highly concentrated healing properties from your own body to restore and repair joint tissue. And QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting breakthrough natural approach to eliminating joint pain. Lots of people here have done this, and they are living life to the fullest, pain-free, okay? Don't assume the old ways of dealing with joint pain are the only ways. Call QC Kinetics today. Stop putting it off. Call now for a free consultation. The number is 615-249-4024. Again, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024.
It's Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone. 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic this morning, live from Greystone Golf Club, presented by Ferguson HVAC, underway here. Getting started with all the people showing up here. The sun is up, Ramon Foster. Came up quick.
Sun's up, guns up, Will.
That's right.
Oh, you took the sweat. You took the quarter
Yeah,
zip
one
off.
segment in, the quarter zip is gone.
I just realized
It was a bad decision by me. I got to the point last night, right after Jonathan Schaefer yelled at us via text to go to sleep.
Yeah, he did.
And I was like, oh, none of my clothes are clean. That's okay. But because usually I will literally put stuff out of my chair. Like, you're wearing this tomorrow.
Oh, you
your
still do
brain's
that?
not going to start. Oh, yeah, 100%. My brain does not start until I need it to, until I've drank coffee.
Well, I've yet to have my. I know somebody's gonna be brewing something real soon. Didn't grab an energy drink or nothing. Will, I'm just naturally like this.
You're
ready?
naturally like
You ready to roll,
Oh,
man?
Lord.
You're like, not
Don't
really,
tell me that.
not really. But yeah, man, weekend was cool for us. Nothing crazy. Baseball tournament. We got those rings, as I told you. I forgot to show it to you.
So you got one this week.
Yeah, my kid came runner up off Donaldson
you
Pike
go.
is where they had a tournament at this past weekend. Did pretty good, man. Team they beat the day before, they beat them in the championship game. So you know how that goes, man.
Good bounce back.
Hey, they were all good, though. It was a real good game. You know what? Parents are very civil. Nobody was out there just going blatantly off. You know what? Blues out there, they
Wasn't
were
surprised.
They were the Blues were the Blues. Okay, I'm sorry, but I will say this: it was hot, and most of the time these dudes would just say, "Yeah, I do it," not realizing how hot and uncomfortable it's going to be. I think some of them were just ready to go this past weekend.
615-737-1045 is the number this morning. Titans get the win 26-23 over the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of Malik Willis, a lot of Rashad Weaver, and a pretty good performance overall, I would say. This is just a good football game.
It was.
Good preseason football game.
It really was. I thought Josh Jones, man. We got to highlight him. Joe Jones.
Yes.
Sure. No, I call him Josh. I know a Josh Jones.
That is the merit.
That is the merit. 100% correct. The ability of this guy, man, to play the way he does and the effort that he does later in the game, too. This is the thing. He's a vet. And this guy's balling right now, man. And I say this at his size, too. He's a bigger linebacker that pretty much ran down a tackle this past weekend.
Andy Isabella.
I was just like, wait a minute, man.
I think he made the team literally on that play
point.
right there.
I wasn't tripping by this then,
No,
right?
there are not many singular plays that decide your football future.
Yep.
But when you are battling for a third linebacker spot
Dog.
at 250 pounds,
Yeah.
and you chase down a slot receiver from the other side of the field at the end of a 60-yard gain, bring in your Surface tablet, you're on the team.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Is there? I've seen guys also be in that situation too, Will, where especially, and it's usually that last game is for the special teamers. Like, all right, we know we asked that question, and we went through our projected 53-man roster on Friday. But the majority of the time, we know who the position guys are going to be, right? We can pretty much go and say these are our starters. I think now we pretty much know that NPF is the right tackle, who, by the way, still wants to deny that he's the right tackle. It's an ongoing competition, and I admire that about him. But this past game, and usually the last game, is for the special teams. I've seen guys, kick returns specifically, make the team in those last moments of a game where they get a big return back, or you have a DB that strips the ball out and he end up making the team because he shows he has that awareness to get an extra possession for his team. It's kind of cool to see, especially with a lot of those guys, man, knowing that it may be their last run and just how hard they sell out. I was actually talking to a group of friends of mine yesterday about business decisions that have to be made. What's the quarterback that played yesterday? Blau, I think Plow from Detroit. He was
David Blau.
Yeah, it was Blau. He was going down on the field from being hit. Right? I'm like, listen to me. I don't know if you're going to make that roster or not, but if you are hurt, stay on the ground and stay hurt, because that's the difference between you getting paid and not getting paid, Will, because if he's injured, they got to give him an injury settlement, number one, or he goes to IR.
Right.
Or you get an entire year paid for. Well, like, these are the things that formulated.
Business decisions.
Yes. These are the things that go on in my mind for guys that are on their fringe, because this is the reality of, and I kind of wrote this too, like, preseason ball is over. and it's about to get real, real fast, meaning like life decisions are about to happen right now. Like some guys may not put on shoulder pads again. Some guys' lives will be changed because financially you never thought you'd be in this position as far as chasing your dreams too. So I never minimized that last game or the guys that was, scrapping and fighting for those roles. And I have a huge appreciation for it, considering I thought for the most part I was outside looking in.
Joe Jones had 6 tackles against Baltimore, 4 tackles and an interception that he returned for 38 yards against Tampa Bay. And then add 6 tackles again against Arizona. I think when you start to evaluate some of the more consistent performers, Ramon, on this Titans defense, I think he's in that conversation. I think what he's done on special teams has been a part of this team on special teams in the past. Of course, last season, played in 9 games, had 6 tackles on special teams. A big guy that's been consistent and is not the prototypical gadget, little bit smaller built linebacker that kind of makes the fringe of a team.
Yep.
He looks like an outside linebacker. He looks almost like a 4-3 defensive end.
He does.
Out there. Like that's what I think of. We're number 42, just kind of a grinder. Yeah. He's a lunch pail guy. I'm going to use all the football cliches about this dude because when you track down Andy Isabella on a 74-yard catch, I'm trying to think of the play that the Titans gave up an interception.
Yeah.
And there was a play, I want to say this was 2 years ago, and it was about a 70, 80-yard interception, and somebody from the Titans offense chased down the returner, made the tackle, and Mike Vrabel after the game basically said, that was the play of the game. That's the best effort I've seen in a football field.
Yeah.
And I don't remember who that is off the top of my head, but I know that to say that Mike Vrabel loves that kind of
no doubt about it, because in those moments, Will, like you said with him, you notice it because it's all 22 on the field, number one, right? And you know that, look, everybody on the field is giving their all, but there's always this one guy that will separate himself, and that was him this past weekend, man, as far as saying, look, I got us. Whatever needs to be done, I'm going to get it done, man. And it makes you at least say, we got to find a spot for this guy, no matter what Joe Jones looks like, okay? Because that plays a part in it, too. I've told you this. Coaches have these freaking cliches and just measuring sticks as far as what's supposed to look like. And I'm glad. I'll be glad if he does make this roster, too, because we're assuming this to be true, Will, and we just don't know either. But any team has to see value in what he did this past weekend, and not just that, throughout the entire preseason too. Another guy that's on the mark too, Will. David, how do you say his last name?
David Aneni.
Aneni.
That's
See,
right.
I get that wrong every single time.
That's all right.
That's why I got you here, Will.
We'll allow it.
Aneni.
That's why you keep me around.
It is. I'd be shocked if he didn't make this roster too. Very impactful.
I'm with you.
He could be one of those preseason MVP candidates too.
I think so. One of the biggest performers for the Titans of the undrafted guys. I think he certainly is the guy with the best chance of making the team of the Titans undrafted rookies. Played for Houston last year. Was disruptive for them as an outside linebacker. Auburn fans will remember him as the guy who had the sack on the last drive of the Birmingham Bowl last year for Houston. So a guy that played really well, finishes the preseason with 3 sacks, gets the 2 in game 1 against Baltimore, gets another one against Tampa Bay, had a deflection at the line of scrimmage again against the Arizona Cardinals over the weekend. So I like the versatility there. It reminds me a little bit of Ola Adeni as far as the way they're built. One of the smaller yet speedier Titans edge rushers that we've seen in recent memory. Thought he was good on Saturday as well. 615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in and give your takeaways from Titans and Cardinals this weekend. Malik Willis, Ramon Foster. 15 of 23. 131 yards, touchdown, interception that was deflected, and then you get a one-handed catch after the deflection. Heck of a play for Wiggins of Arizona on that one. But the 79 rushing yards on 4 carries, the key difference on Saturday, those carries weren't out of the back of the pocket.
There we go.
He was stepping up. He was making better decisions. And that, I think, on film is going to be the perfect example of the way Mike Vrabel wants Malik Willis to run. It was decisive. It was quick. It was recognizing in man coverage. The middle of the field is open, short yardage down in distance where you are and relative of where you need to be. And it was a quick move, and the 50-yard run was pretty electric.
Yes, it was, man. And again, I've heard fans speak of it, and I just be like, yo, pipe down. He's a far away. And I still think he's got a bit to go, Will, as far as his development and understanding of this league, right, as far as Malik Willis go. Talking about Malik Willis on this past weekend. This past game, and I know Arizona didn't play their guys. And, of course, there's a different game plan for the regular season as it is, just for the preseason. There's no plan for the preseason. But I saw him do a few things, and it probably looked negative to you guys. Like, well, you're supposed to do this. No, this guy this past weekend got down, Will, when he needed to. He ran the ball and said, you know what, this is as far as I'm going right now. This is it. But on that 50-yard run, as you said, he had the ability to navigate and see the field and cut across and also still get down essentially to keep himself safe, because the biggest issue with all of his running and ability to be athletic on this field and create extended plays for his team is good until it's not. And that's where we're at with him right now. I was glad to see he move up in the pocket, get down when it was necessary, and truthfully, he looked to make the pass first in a lot of the times this past weekend. And I think it was like 3rd and 13, and he may have gotten 5 yards and got down. Well, I was like, good. There's no need, because at that point, the way Stonehouse was punting also, there's help on the field.
There was.
You don't have to be at liberty anymore.
Right.
And that's what I think guys that come from programs like that have to realize. Look, I was Superman and I had to be. I don't have to be that right now. We can play the field possession game.
Sure.
We can let other guys go make plays. And I also have to look out for myself as far as the health of what he did. Again, I'll push back on myself, Will, as I pass it back off to you. Initially, I was like, nope.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
The first 2 weeks,
Am I wrong?
I thought that this was closer to Cole McDonald than it was a guy that could contribute and be the guy long term.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Now, I never thought the Titans were going to cut Malik Willis.
No.
But it felt like we were going to have a really awkward conversation at some point this preseason and at some point this season about Logan Woodside giving this team its best chance to win as the second quarterback. That conversation has faded into the rear view quickly.
Yes.
Very quickly.
And almost, and I know Babs is, the CEO of Logan Woodside's fan club. So she's probably going to go.
One of the more random fan clubs in existence, by the way.
She's the CEO, the CFO, the cheerleader, all things for Logan Woodside, right?
That's right.
But I feel like I saw something from him this preseason that I hadn't seen from him since I've been covering this team.
Yeah.
He looked a little bit more uncomfortable in
a competition.
In his approach. Like a real one this time.
A real competition against somebody that has the ability to sidearm a throw around a free rusher on a 3rd down to Traylon Burks for a touchdown, which is the play of the preseason for me for the Tennessee Titans.
It was.
No question.
Okay. But I felt like, I won't say he slid. He just didn't take those steps that I thought Logan Woodside would have taken this preseason. Like, I'm more comfortable with Malik Willis stepping in a small role, Will. Sure. I'm not saying, hey, give him the keys to no.
We're still 2 years away.
We'll give him the keys to the golf cart, okay? Shout out to Greystone Golf Club today, okay? We'll give him the keys to the golf cart, a battery-powered one, not even a gas one, okay?
Right.
So he got to go back home and plug in every single week, every single evening. He's got to go charge it back up. I'm not giving him the V8 just yet. But if he's needed to fill in a role, and if we're looking for him to grow, I see more growth in him than I ever did in Logan Woodside so far.
We're letting him drive the car, but we're still driving around in empty church parking lots for a couple months. We're not quite to the point of back roads. We're certainly not at the point of driving on the highway with parental supervision. But we are starting to drive around in empty school and church parking lots with Malik Willis as the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans.
Unless you have an uncle by the name of Ron that will let you drive on the highway, okay? My 13-year-old.
No way.
He put him on the highway. We're not Ron slaying this thing, is what I'm telling you.
You need to make a bigger apology than I did earlier, saying that I was turning off alarms, my oh crap alarms, as I was driving here this morning.
Yeah, man, we're not him, right? Yeah.
Not great, Bob.
But with that being said, though, I understand the excitement. I understand that it factor that we were speaking of when it comes down to him and what his teammates have said about him, what other scouts have kind of said about him, what coaches have said about him too. And now I think I'm starting to get the patient side. Again, it's on him, listeners, Titans fans, people listening to us this morning, to grow, to use this next month or so to say, all right, what else can I work on? He can't be a disruptor when it comes down to the scout team stuff that he has to do against this Titans defense. But I legitimately get it now.
You get it.
And I was anti.
Right. No, you are. 615-737-1045 is the number. What'd you think of Malik Willis on Saturday against the Arizona Cardinals? We've just scratched the surface on the evaluation of the end of the Titans preseason. I also want to talk a little bit about Treylon Burks, Ramon Foster, because there was a very clear and obvious game plan to get him involved early and often on Saturday. And this was the first time that Treylon Burks really looked the part, and the Titans treated him like a first-round pick within the framework of that offense and trying to get him the football. 615-737-1045. When we come back, we'll lead off with Cuzzo Mike after the break. Check in on the phone line, 615-737-1045. We're live from 1045 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic. Special thanks to Seymour Putters, Fight DMD, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all of our great sponsors hanging out with us today in Dixon. Come on back, 1045 The Zone. Oh, it's a happy Monday morning. Outside of the clubhouse at Greystone Golf Club, it is the 104.5 The Zone 2022 Summer Golf Classic. Thanks to RTM Roofing, Nashville Soccer Club, Brentwood Hearing Center, the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
All of our good partners helping us out here today. Will Bowling, Ramon Foster with you. The show is Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons. You can join us at 615-737-1045. And leading off on the phone lines this morning, Cuzzo
Michael.
choosing some violence with us on this Monday. What's going on, Mike?
What's up, Mike?
What up, dog? What's up, fellas? What's up, big dog?
How are we?
How much?
Hey, yo, William, how you doing, man? I see.
I'm great.
I see you ain't got your pocket tee on this.
I do not have my pocket
give you
tee
a trophy
today.
for that.
Thank you.
Hey, man, I'm gonna give you a trophy, man. No pocket tees, man. We was calling you two-tone pocket tee Friday, you know. But
That's fair.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yo, y'all get my app? Y'all get my application yet?
Yes,
Y'all-
we
y'all-
did.
y'all reviewing that?
I heard
Yeah.
about it. They sent out a company email about your
Okay.
resume. So
Oh, yeah, I heard about this.
we'll discuss that
That's
later.
right.
Yeah, you heard about.
Okay. All right.
But we did
All
get
right.
it.
Yeah. All right, that's what's up. It's happening, y'all. It's happening. Okay,
Everybody stay calm.
So, let me give y'all my interview real quick. All right, so bosses, ties, I hope y'all listen. Here we go, right here. So here's my take for the whole preseason. Here's my what do y'all call it? My
Your hot take.
MVP trophy.
Yes, your MVP.
No, I ain't got no hot takes. This is all trill, baby. No hot takes.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep it
Let's-
trill with you.
All right.
Okay. The MVP has to go to the strength and conditioning team because everybody's healthy. Let's be real. The past few
Okay.
years, we have been looking at the backups and who's coming in because we knew it was going to be some starters that was going to be out because they had lingering injuries. Now we looking at backups and people that they done brought in just because they could be a nice little wrinkle. You dig what I'm saying? So, that's my MVP. Strength and conditioning, the scouting team, of course, J-Rob. I trust him. I'm digging with him. What's this, his 6th year? We get to see what he is putting out on out there for us to root for. And then as far as Malik go, he fits everything J-Rob and Vrabel had talked about. They want tough guys, coachable, smart, and team guys, and within these first 3 games, we see he fits the bill on all of that. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's my interview. It don't get no better than that. Slay, give me that good reference, baby. And yeah, man, y'all be easy. Keep me in your prayers. William,
Absolutely.
2-tone pockets up, baby. Dude.
Thank you, sir.
That might be a thing right there,
There's
man.
Mike.
2-tone pockets up.
I like it.
I wasn't expecting the strength and conditioning team in the trainer.
No,
room.
I think it's
That
a
makes-
solid one.
Yes.
I mean, this time last year, Titans had just lost Rashad Weaver for the
Yep.
season. I think a couple years back, before the Titans brought in Kenny Vaccaro, they brought him in because Jonathan Cyprien was out with a season-ending injury in preseason. So you always seem to have that one injury in camp every
Yep.
single year. The 2 guys who have been out for the Titans who are noteworthy, Mike Vrabel commented on them yesterday when talking to the media. Nate Davis and Jamarco Jones,
Yep.
2 guards, 2 interior guys, providing depth at that position. Of course, Davis, your starting right guard. Mike Vrabel saying this week that he expects to get them back in the coming days and in the coming weeks, which is certainly a good thing. But other than that, haven't really been any major injury issues other than a couple of kind of bruises for Traylon Burks.
And just to put names to the strength and conditioning team, Frank Pereno, pretty much, I think that's how you say his name, and Brian, and Brian Bell, both, man, because as far as the vets not playing this preseason, that's communicated from the strength and conditioning and the training room up to Coach Vrabel, too. If those guys weren't on the field, they were doing stuff on the side to actually get more acclimated to the season, too. So, yes, that goes understated a lot, Will,
Sure.
as far as the significance of those guys, man. So, yeah, good.
615-737-1045 is the number this morning. Next, we go to Kevin here in Nashville, talking Titans secondary. What's going on, Kevin?
What's
How
up,
are you?
Kevin? What's going on? Good morning.
Hey, how you guys doing, man?
Good.
We're great.
Right here, I love the show, man.
Appreciate
Hey, man,
it.
yeah. So I went to Overton High School, man. I graduated class of 2015, so I graduated with Hugo. I went to school with Theo, played on the football team.
Heck yeah.
They both are very dedicated men, and I can see why they're both in the league right now, man. Just the will, the competitiveness they have was awesome, man. I love that they're in the league. Mookie Betts, shout out to him as well.
That's right.
But I just want to see, do you guys think both of them will make the team? I hope they do. That would be awesome, man. But I think they played both good. Ugo had a couple pass deflections. Theo just a dog out there just tackling everybody, man. So I just want to see what you guys think about that. And just go both up, baby, Charger Nation.
Thank you, Kevin.
I love that, man.
The Bobcats, well represented this morning.
No doubt about it.
Ugo Amadi and Theo Jackson are both making this team.
I think so, too.
We got a lot of clarity about the pecking order and the hierarchy of where those Titan safeties are, but more specifically, who's comfortable and who probably isn't as comfortable in the Titans' defensive backfield. I think we learned that Theo Jackson and Ugo Amadi are safe where they are. Lonnie Johnson is probably in a good spot right now. Adrian Colbert, I would say, is kind of on the bubble along with Josh Kalu. Kalu, good to see him back healthy again after going out injured last week against Tampa. Of course, he practiced this week, so knew he was going to be in the mix. I think the guy on the outside right now is Tyree Gillespie. Got in the fourth quarter of that game. Ugo Amadi really showed how physical he is in the nickel spot. Was disruptive in the backfield. I liked what he was able to do. And I think we learned that both of those guys are in a pretty good spot right now.
When it comes to Ugo Amadi, a guy that just got in the system this week, being able to come and make plays the way he did. And like you said, the biggest thing for him, Will, was his physicality. Him being able to get to the ball and be a heat-seeking missile the way he was this past weekend, and breaking up plays that guys at his age and his position have to be able to make up too. You can't come in and letting balls go over your head. And he had, like you said, like Kevin said, a couple pass deflection, but the guy that had the game of the weekend was probably Theo Jackson. You look at his stat line at least more than anything. 9 total tackles, 5 solo. Says a lot about how active he was, and he's done that at Tennessee, and you expected him to do that here. He did it in the first preseason game.
Right.
Remember how high we were on him and the things that he did over the first game. So I'm really interested to see these guys make it. And let's say this too: they're from this city, played school in this city, too, high school ball in this city. They make this team because they're players. You know, I don't think this is, hey, let's do anything for the hometown guys.
Yeah.
No,
Definitely.
screw that.
Right.
No, these guys made the team, man. And, again, I'll continue to say this, Will. We come up on a break. Vols usually have better pro careers than they do college, man. I hope that turns around sometime soon, man. But shout out to Theo, man. Go Vols. Shout out to Ugo Amadi, also being from the city. And just, it's Nashville, as Tennessee as Nashville can be, man. I love it.
Absolutely love it. 615-737-1045. What did Mike Vrabel have to say about Traylon Burks and Dylan Radins after the game against the Arizona Cardinals over the weekend? 26-23, the final. But the beginning of this game, the first play, Ramon Foster, targeted your first-round receiver, who also had his first touchdown over the weekend. We'll dive into his performance. Take a look at the way Dylan Radins played. Offensive and defensive MVPs coming up. We've got Vols to discuss. We got John Glennon. We've got Rashad Weaver. We've got lots to talk about.
And we got a coach from Nebraska. That seat is blistering hot right now.
Yeah, I had to look up if Ireland and U.S. what the extradition policy was. Just based on if Scott Frost could be left on a tarmac in another country, like what's the exchange rate on his buyout if he stays in Dublin?
I mean, didn't Lane Kiffin get fired on a tarmac at USC?
Yes, he did, but that was in the United States. There's not an exchange rate to California. Exchange rate to Dublin. How does that work buyout-wise? Maybe we'll get into that.
Yeah, I'll look that up.
quick first hour. Next 3 will be quick, too. Don't blink. You just might miss it. It's Ramona Will, 104.5 The Zone.
7:03, good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Titans ended the preseason with a come-from-behind 26-23 win over the Arizona Cardinals on Saturday night at Nissan Stadium. Malik Willis started and played most of the game, went 15 of 23, 131 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Meanwhile, Logan Woodside completed 5 of 9 passes for 43 yards. On the final drive of the game, he scored on a run on 4th down from the 9-yard line with 52 seconds remaining.
Pressure coming. Woodside steps up. He'll run to the 5. He'll run to the end zone. Touchdown, Titans! Logan Woodside with a sprint to the finish. He barely crossed the line, but it was enough to put the Titans in front.
Meanwhile, Nolensville finished the Little League World Series in 4th place, falling to Chinese Taipei 2-0 on Sunday in the 3rd-place consolation game. Nolensville went 4-3 with 2 of those losses at the hands of Honolulu, Hawaii, who went on to win the championship. Vanderbilt cruised past Hawaii 63-10 on Saturday night in Week 0 college football action. Most points Vandy has scored against an FBS opponent since 1941. And Nashville SC rounded the Vancouver Whitecaps 3-0 on Saturday night in British Columbia. For the boys in gold, they claimed their first back-to-back wins since April. For all foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2 on a Monday morning, live from Greystone Golf Club in Dixon. It is Ramon and Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone. Full house, Jonathan Schaefer back in our studios downtown. Will Bowling and Ramon Foster with you. Question on Twitter this morning, at Ramon and Will. What is the most useless trophy that you own? Scooby commenting this morning saying that Jonathan Schaefer being dubbed as the unofficial, quote, best producer in the world is the most useless trophy. Jonathan Schaefer, your thoughts?
Yeah.
The best producer in the world.
Oh, okay. I didn't ask Ron Slay for his thoughts. I asked you for your thoughts.
No, I asked Ron Slay for his thoughts.
Oh,
The best producer in the world.
Yeah, man.
I have less control over the drops even than I did before when I was in the same building.
Great.
Take a back seat, Will.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. Guy who did not take the back seat this weekend.
Yeah.
Traylon Burks.
Yes, sir.
3 catches, 33 yards, 14-yard touchdown catch. The play of preseason. Raise the banner. For Malik Willis on Saturday. Mike Vrabel saying having good play speed, willingness to block when he was in there and do his job. Those are all positive things. I think at this point, Ramon Foster, for the evaluation process of Traylon Burks, that's about as good of a compliment as you're going to get from Mike Vrabel.
No doubt about it.
He blocked and he did his job.
And what's crazy, these dudes are wide receivers, Vrabel. They're supposed to catch the ball, but that's not valuable to him. This guy's like, no, if you can't block, you're not getting on the field. Like, how you get drafted as a first-round wide receiver, Will, and your first job is to learn how to block here.
That's why Julio Jones lasted 1 season here. Is that right there?
Yes, it is.
Also, Randy
man.
Moss under a different regime.
Also, but can you
No.
Randy?
Titans legend Randy Moss. Get it right.
That's true. Titans legend Andre Johnson as well. We'll throw him in there for his couple-week stint. Before he
Titans
just retired
legend Adrian
halfway through the
Peterson.
season. That's right.
Definitely AP, man.
And Titans legend Jadeveon Clowney announced over the weekend his jersey's being retired at South Carolina.
Hey, oh, really?
He will not be inducted into the Titans Ring of Honor.
Nah.
I can go ahead and break that news
I
here
think
this
he
morning.
missed that one, but he did.
The Ring of Dishonor, though, that is one place where Jadeveon Clowney is actually the charter member. It's actually the Jadeveon Clowney Memorial Titans Ring of Dishonor.
And you know what?
Name it after it.
It'll probably have a whole lot of diamonds for that $9 million you paid him, too.
Him and Julio Jones, the charter members of that place.
The other portion of him getting that ring, Will, is he'll afford to pay for it with the money that the Titans gave him.
Should we hand out each week like a player of the game, and then for the worst player of the game, like the Jadeveon Clowney worst player of the week? Like, is that something we should do around the NFL?
Well, I mean, you're not far off, Will, in general, but the guy's steadily making hay. And where is he? Still Cleveland, right? We haven't heard a peep out of him this preseason. Has he played much at all, too? No.
I don't think so.
I don't pay attention to Cleveland like that.
He usually doesn't play in the regular season, so I don't know why he'd play in the preseason. I'm telling you, Jadeveon Clowney is just catching a lot of strays, but I don't know if they're strays based on the amount of money he got paid to not play football.
To not play football here,
Titans.
man. But that's another one, too. Another one that made that list of also getting paid not to do anything in Pittsburgh was Jeremy McNichols.
Did he really?
Yes, he did.
McWeapon.
He went to IR, dog, early in the training camp. So,
That's right.
Again, business decisions have to be made at this time of the year. If you are hurt, stay on the ground. There's a check coming your way if you do. It's either that or get a box lunch home, Will. Which one you taking?
I'm never going to say no to a box lunch.
But
I don't know.
if there's a check on the other end of that box
Okay,
lunch,
yeah,
you're taking
that works then.
100%, man. It goes without saying, though, preseason is over and ball is officially here. We're 3 days away from fall football.
Robert Meacham days from Tennessee football.
Look at you. It's just endless.
We just got tweeted that a minute ago.
Okay, all right. I was about to give you credit for something you don't deserve credit for.
Jason
man.
on Twitter, I'll give him credit, at Two-Tone Blue Blood on Twitter, saying, if there is a Worst Player of the Week award, it should be the Isaiah Wilson Worst Player of the Week award.
You see that?
No, honestly, I think we should save the Isaiah Wilson award for best yacht party over the weekend. Should be
Best
thrown to
campus
Isaiah
party.
No, best jumping off a balcony party.
Well, that's where I
wow.
was going.
Oh, wow.
Golly, what a year, man, that was.
Gosh.
All the
615-737-1045.
That brings it back home right there, Will.
That one hits home a little bit. I feel like it's too soon on both of them. I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't know what to say anymore. I'll be honest with you,
Not
man.
too soon. Maximum violence. Come on.
Maximum. You're right.
Fair.
I guess we're there now.
It's a happy day. I'm at a golf course.
But what's crazy is we're in a totally different position from NPF to him right now. Think about that.
We are. And Dylan Radin's playing at guard as well.
Even him.
As he gets a little bit of work on both sides at the guard position over the weekend. But it is kind of an interesting process right now because it feels like Traylon Burks, the worries that we had for him the first couple weeks of preseason, a lot of those are alleviated just by Malik Willis standing in the pocket.
Yes, it was.
And we've had this discussion over the past few weeks that one of the reasons why Logan Woodside was still a critical piece in the preseason is because at the very least, he's going to help you evaluate what you have at the wide receiver position.
Better.
That is the other incentive that you get to Malik Willis taking a step forward and the clock in his head kind of being synced up a little bit with this offensive coaching staff is now you get to see what you have in Traylon Burks in this receiving core. And I think we saw a little bit more of that. Saw Racy McMath, a guy who came on really strong at the beginning of camp, who'd kind of disappeared just a little bit, not really to his fault as much as it was just the quarterback position has not been consistent in getting him the football. But that was a very clear strategy early, Ramon, was Traylon Burks was targeted on the first play. He goes out with the wrist injury. He comes back. And the route that he scored on, this is the biggest positive I take away from this game. The route that he scored on was the exact play Malik Willis missed against Tampa Bay.
It was. And not only that, man, both parties were fully involved in the play, didn't quit on the play. Malik awareness, I thought, at the beginning of the game was very lacking, man. You remember he took that third down sack when I guarantee everybody that was watching the game was like, the clock is off, the clock is done, the clock is done. He took it, ate that sack, and later on in the game he figured out and how to adjust to that pressure being around the pocket too. And not just that, like you said, that play to Traylon at the end of the game. Both continue to actually play through, Will, the breakdown of the offense. They both continue to actually find ways to make plays. I was impressed with his ability to actually just sit there, navigate safely, Will. That was the thing, too. Like, that is an art, too, when it comes down to those types of quarterbacks. And I mean your Aaron Rodgers. I mean your Patrick Mahomes, your Dax, all of those guys that move around the pocket. Baker Mayfield was another guy that was notorious for that stuff, man, that can cause just a bunch of chaos when it came down to getting the ball out or either holding it too long. And to see Malik eyes downfield, Will, more than anything, create that play with Traylon Burks, man. Again, when you look back at it and see him catch the ball, you can see him realize, oh, it's just me in the end zone right now. I think the safety had a little bit of an angle on him. But to your point, it seemed like this game – there was a plan made to say, hey, I'm going to get you the ball. If you trust me, I'm going to stand there and deliver. And he did some good things. We're going on without even mentioning this, Will. We were wanting Tannehill, right, this past weekend.
Yep.
We wanted Derek. Of course, we weren't going to get that.
No, I didn't even want Derek, honestly.
But we got Bobby Trees.
We did.
With a beautiful catch on the sideline from it was highly contested too, man.
Physical route.
Very physical.
Bobby Trees.
Fought through the pressure defensively and made a nice move upfield. It's exactly what I wanted to see from him.
Moving the chains.
First time getting tackled.
Yeah.
First time, trying to plant and turn quickly. I think it was important for him, more than any of the Titans starters, that it wasn't quite as important for them to get in, even though we wanted to see them. I needed to see Robert Woods.
Yes, we did, and he checked that box to me, man. Again, I know we've been speaking about him cutting off his foot and everything else like that, but, man, let me tell you this. He actually paid off that debt with just one catch, and I think that was it for him for the rest of the game,
It was.
too.
Went to the house.
Good, man. God, and, again, shout out to Cousin Mike for bringing up that point, the training staff, everybody involved with making these plans to get the guys to the regular season, because how good are you if you don't have your A players?
615-737-1045 is the number this morning. We are live from Greystone Golf Club. It is 1045 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic. Thanks to the Nashville Predators, Chattanooga Whiskey, Uncle Bud's for making this event possible. We've seen a couple of the golfers showing up here this morning, getting loose, getting ready. I'm overlooking the 10th tee box where Ramon Foster, I have lost not one but two golf balls over the past few weeks. I love it out here, Greystone, one of the best courses in Middle Tennessee. If you haven't been out here, it is a great, great place to play. I did not bring my clubs. I wish I had.
Really?
I know. I already regretted it. Wasn't a spot for me to play.
There was absolutely no way.
Not A-list enough to come play.
Well, that's when you just walk in. Okay. You hadn't walked into places with us, have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay. We'll get you there, Will. I promise you, we'll get you there. You just walk in and act like you belong, Will, and
That's
you're
true.
good. How many people actually stop you? It's like, hey, where's your badge?
I mean, some would say he's acting right now.
Yeah, what do you think I've been doing for the past 2 weeks?
Never
Wait.
mind.
Okay, because Mike already called in and gave his audition for the job. I mean, what do you think? I'm just hoping nobody notices.
Two-tone
I'm just
pockets
sitting
up,
in here with
baby.
you. That's right. 615-737-1045 coming up. It's the award that every player has been clamoring for across Tennessee Titans training camp, the Ramon and Will Offensive and Defensive MVP. In fact, I hear the Nashville Predators might even raise this banner after we say who has won the Offensive and Defensive MVP. Of course I can. I love the press. Love the press. Coming up next, we hand those out. Take a look at the best of training camp from the Tennessee Titans perspective. It's Ramon and Will, powered by all four seasons, 1045 The Zone. It's Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone. Good vibes on a Monday morning. Live from Greystone Golf Club for the 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic. Thanks to 4 Point Business Services, William Grant & Sons, Nashville Soccer Club, and many others. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Will Bowling and Ramon Foster with you, handing out preseason MVPs, offensive and defensive MVPs.
Yeah.
It is the award that is sweeping the nation.
Yep.
Many are asking for it.
Yes. We might have to end up getting a medal or a trophy or something, Will, for this, because this could, hey, this is meaningful, man. Even though people don't recognize it yet, it's very meaningful what we're about to do here.
More or less meaningful than 3HL's second place trophy at our last golf tournament?
Way more meaningful.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure.
So, you just got to keep hammering down on that one, man. A second place trophy in which they did nothing for, okay?
Yeah, because they were carried by Brett Kern and then Brett Batchelor. Two guys that are like Brett Batchelor, our 104.5 The Zone digital producer, who legitimately played golf in college. And then Brett Kern, who is a kicker in the NFL. So, of course, like he's, got a great handicap.
They didn't tell me that. Brett was with him, too?
Yeah.
Oh, Brett and Ron did nothing then.
Hell no.
So Brent was really adamant on hitting a lot of putts really close.
Wow.
But this was not horseshoes nor hand grenades.
Or hand grenades, exactly.
So I was most impressed with Brett Batchelor and Brett Kern's performance.
Well,
Ron Slay, of course, provided good morale, though, and good vibes.
Yeah,
so
yeah, absolutely.
I think
agree with
Ron Slay's energy is worth like at least 2 or 3 strokes in the good direction. Like not like it's worth 2 or 3 good shots. Of, just the cigar smoke and the general feeling of Ron Slay shotgunning
just
a beer on a tee
knowing
box.
he's on your team.
Like that's adding 10 to 15 yards to my tee shot. Just thinking about
100%, man. But in this case, the second place trophy holds nothing to the Ramon and Will's offensive and defensive MVP for camp, man. Simply because it's actually impactful of people's lives.
Well, and because this is not second place.
This ain't second
you know what we're not going to do? We're not
What?
going to hand out our runner-up of offensive and defensive, most valuable player.
No
But
doubt, man.
in order to break my own rule, I am going to hand out co-defensive MVPs today.
Are you good? You're doing two?
Such
That
a
too?
loser.
I know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Pick somebody.
Do you want to pick between these two guys?
Just to give some submissions already, too. Who do we have?
All right, I'll
here?
pick one.
Messiah A. King on YouTube chat has NPF and Rashad Weaver.
I think Rashad Weaver is going to be a popular pick.
Yeah, I think so, too.
So who do you have on defense?
Mine on defense
Go for it.
preseason. Rashad Weaver.
Okay.
It is, man. The kid is stuck out in a major way this year. Coming back from that's another thing we're not talking about, and I hope we don't talk about anymore. Will is he's coming back from that injury,
And it's the second time that he's coming back from a season-ending injury. Did so in 2019 as well with the Pittsburgh Panthers, and then came back and had a really, really good 2020 with 7.5 sacks in 9 games for Pitt in 2020 in the COVID-shortened season. But this is a guy who is familiar with what that process is like.
Yep.
Rehabbing an injury over the course of an entire season, which is something that I think is a little bit jarring. We've talked a lot about the physical therapy and the PT.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I think the average sports fan does not understand how much work that is. Heck, the first time I rehabbed an injury, I showed up the first time for PT, and I was wearing like khaki shorts and like a polo. And then about 5 minutes in, I was like, oh no.
No, you go in there to work.
This is a workout.
Yeah.
This is 100% a workout.
No, you better get lathered up to do rehab, especially like when you're at a sports facility too. This isn't a khaki and on running loafers. No,
That's right.
no, sir. You better be ready to have a lather. But yeah, you're right though.
Yeah,
man.
Rashad Weaver, good pick.
Rashad Weaver. Who's yours? One of your defense.
So that was going to be one of mine. So now I'm going to seamlessly transition and just say that I had one to my other defensive player of the year of 2022 Titans preseason football. Going David Aneni.
David Aneni.
David Aneni leads the Titans in sacks over the course of this preseason. Impact plays in all 3 games. 2 sacks in the second half against the Baltimore Ravens, week 1 of preseason. 3 quarterback hits and a tackle for loss in that game. Against the Bucs, a sack and a forced fumble. And then against Arizona, 2 batted passes at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
I like to see the versatility of what his game is right now.
Yep.
Because so often, Ramon, edge rushers coming out of college have one speed, have one move.
Yep.
It's like a pitcher that's got one pitch that he really likes. With David Anini, the speed is something that is always going to be his biggest contribution to this Tennessee Titans defense. And that's something you can have as a fourth edge rusher on a team. And that's where he is right now as the fourth edge rusher on this defense. But seeing him pop up, forcing a fumble, seeing him pop up with the batted passes, that is another added value that he can bring to this defense, because if you don't have that second move, show me something else that you can do other than just disrupting the timing of the quarterback. Make other plays in the run game, batting down the passes, doing those things. So I've really liked what I've seen from him. He's really athletic off the edge and gives a little bit of a different look than I think the longer edges that the Titans have.
No doubt about it, man. David Anini, I see him making this roster for sure. Hopefully he can develop that too, Will. Hopefully this isn't, hey, he's just surprising us with what he's doing, though. You know, that's what we're really talking about today, man. There's been others also in the chat that said David Anini. Brent, who was it earlier, that said it? Brett Wallace said that in the chat. We got Dylan Elam saying he got Kyle Phillips and Chance Campbell.
Kyle Phillips, I would certainly say, is the MVP of camp.
Practice. Practice?
Of joint practices,
okay.
I would say so. Him and Austin Hooper, maybe.
Yes.
But, yeah, probably
even
Kyle
Hooper?
Phillips.
Hooper, you thought so,
Hooper,
too?
he was against Tampa. I mean,
okay.
In a 2-minute drill, having 3 straight catches for first downs at one point in situational period and really popping up with Ryan Tannehill. You could also argue Ryan Tannehill is just the offensive MVP in camp.
For what reasons, man?
Only 4 interceptions.
Okay, throughout camp
much
practice.
more command of the offense.
You remember last year's conversation about Ryan Tannehill in camp?
It's interesting because this time last year, we were really having the conversation of talking ourselves into, the preseason picks don't mean everything.
We sure did,
The preseason picks aren't a big deal. And I'm not saying that Ryan Tannehill had issues throwing interceptions because of the way he looked in preseason. This is kind of correlation versus causation that we're kind of talking through here. It's not always, it happened in preseason and then it happened in the season. So obviously the two are related. I'm not going that far.
Right.
But it wasn't like we could totally throw it away.
Well, now we can't.
No. I mean, now it's something that we're looking for and we're paying attention to a little bit.
It's a management type of thing. Legitimately, I never paid attention to it because I used to always minimize it as a player, like, it's just camp. But that flow of the offense means a lot, specifically the offense, because most people will tell you that played the game, been around the game, watched it, studied it. Like, the offense takes a little bit more time to get going. It takes a lot more of the players, the guys being on the same page, as opposed to defense. Just like we're talking about Joe Jones, right? Going down the field to make a tackle on a play that was broken up by everybody but himself. Like, defenses can make those type of plays, right? Like, it's rare you get the scramble like Traylon to like Malik to Traylon to where it goes into a touchdown or a big play. Defensive players can individually affect a game better than the offensive side can. So to see that be the case this year right now in camp, where Tannehill has been ahead of not throwing picks, where he's been a guy that's commanded practice, gotten together with the guys off to the side to kind of work on that cohesion and chemistry that they need to start the season off. What I am hoping, though, Will, is that we do get that from Ryan Tannehill in the first game against the Giants, where he's not, pick happy because right. I know, Will, like, that's the stadium in which it happened.
Yeah.
And he's got to have a great showing, man. So for him to command camp the way he did, camp practices, was a really good thing, man.
615-737-1045, handing out offensive and defensive MVPs for the Tennessee Titans in preseason here on Ramon and Will. Offensive side of the football, your preseason MVP, Ramon Foster.
NPF.
Okay.
Interesting. If there was one more game to be made, I'd almost probably give it to Malik, though, just because of the improvement we've seen.
Okay.
Where they started is where I kind of give that MVP. And it's probably why LeBron always got snubbed for best player in the year, too, because we're not looking at what the actual greatness is. We're just looking at everybody else that's doing something outside of the box. But I say this with NPF. There was absolutely Nicholas Petit-Frere. There was absolutely zero chance I gave him to actually take over the starting position. If you had gone to camp you did, you saw a very confident Dylan Radins. You saw a Dylan Radins that was holding his own. You saw a Dylan Radins that also looked different from last year.
Looked like an NFL tackle.
Looked like an NFL tackle, man. And for us to get to this point with him actually can we say it now? Losing the starting right tackle
100%.
position.
John Robinson said it on the TV broadcast.
Yeah, I heard
Mike
it.
Vrabel said it post-game.
He did say it. And the only thing that throws me to the side is the fact that, even MPF is still like, well, we're still in competition as he talks real like this. We're in competition. I respect him. Like, no, you won the job, young fella.
So you want him to celebrate that a little bit more?
Now we need to see the cockiness.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
All right.
He can still say very
I'm a little
respectful.
surprised to hear you say that, honestly.
Oh, heck no. Do you know how big of an achievement this is for a rookie?
Especially third-round pick.
Day one starter.
No, I'm with you.
That's huge, man. So I need him to, and of course, they're not going to give us everything, Will, as far as their emotions and stuff. But he, for obvious reasons, as winning that starting right tackle position, that's why he's my offensive camp MVP.
I didn't see enough of him making an impact in preseason games for him to be my preseason MVP. I think, again, if you're talking about the biggest performers or perhaps the biggest overachievers based on the expectations we had of camp as a whole, Nicholas Petit-Frere is probably at the beginning of that conversation. For me, when you talk about preseason games and the steps that were taken, it's Malik Willis. Malik Willis is the most valuable player of the Titans preseason for me based on what we saw from game 1 to game 3. One read or run.
Yeah.
That's all we saw. We saw a lot of running for his life against the Baltimore Ravens. Fast forward to week 2. Same exact thing happens in the first quarter. But in the second quarter, you started to see something a little bit, right? It wasn't just the one read. It was, taking a look at the progressions.
Yeah.
It was stepping up in the pocket a little bit more. But then you still saw him running out of the back of the pocket and trying to make plays on the run and running for his life just a little bit at times. But you liked the improvements that he was making in the red zone and in leading that Titans offense. And then I did not expect to get remotely close to what we saw against Arizona over the weekend.
Me either.
Because it was not just running to the outside. What did we see a lot against Baltimore? We saw him running and then trying to make that tough throw across his body.
Sure did.
Or make his throw off schedule. And I think the more that Malik Willis has had time to be the guy within preseason, you're seeing him get a lot more comfortable off schedule with these Titans wide receivers. And that, to me, puts him over the top as the most valuable player of camp. He's been valuable as far as giving you a clearer picture of what this Tennessee Titans offense can be long-term.
Yeah.
But he's been valuable in helping you evaluate what you have had at the wide receiver position, what you have in Treylon Burks, what you have in Racey McMath. And I just think he does things that we have not seen Titans quarterbacks be able to do in a really, really long time. His arm angles, his toughness, the moxie and poise. I just really like the mentality. I like what we've seen from him and taking steps forward.
Yeah. I got really no pushback on it other than the fact that you just picked somebody I didn't, which is okay, too. And I get where you're coming from, too. For him to have started off camp the way he did and to make those steps and consciously make those steps, too. Of course, like you said, the clock is still something he's got to get, adjusted to. It's got to get better, too. But the playmaking ability was there, man. I love it. And I'll just throw this one out there, too. Another guy on that list is Corey Levin. He was another guy I thought, of course, had a really good camp. It'll be interesting to see if he does finally make this 53-man roster. Who else is somebody on that list, Will, that really Kyle Phillips. And, of course, I saw Dylan say he was joking about it. That was his, played real hard, sneaky athletic. He used those stereotypes
Lunch
right
pail
there.
guy.
Lunch pail guy.
He's a real first in, last out kind of guy.
Yeah, no, but those
he's got sneaky speed.
Those guys did really good, man. Do we want to reference our buddy John Glennon's piece that he had also at Stock Up, man?
Yeah, I want to get into this with him, and we talked to him at 9:20 also because he's got a couple of guys whose stock was up. Joe Jones was another guy that he mentioned.
Yep. I saw his name dropped in the chat, too, in tweets at us also.
That's probably my honorable mention of who would be the most valuable defensive player preseason.
Yeah.
Offensive side of the football, there weren't many individuals who really stood out. I think Julius Chestnut was pretty good. I think he exceeded my expectations.
That fumble in the first game is still
Fumble in the first
me.
game, absolutely.
It's still getting me, man. For a guy in his position, Will, you can't be afforded those.
Sure.
Although we haven't seen it again, that's my one knock. And, of course, coaches discuss that type of stuff, too.
615-737-1045 if you want to send to us your Tennessee Titans preseason MVPs, the award that is sweeping the nation. Here on the phone lines at 615-737-1045. When we come back, we'll take some of your calls. We'll take some of your reaction to the most valuable Titans preseason performers in 2022. And we will also take a look at the snap count and the performance of the newest Titan, Ugo Amadi, makes his debut in the two-tone blue. We'll dive into his performance, take a look at what Mike Vrabel had to say about him. We'll do that coming up next. 26-23, Titans get the win. Ugo Amadi gets his debut. We are here at Greystone Golf Club for 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic. Thanks to Seymour Putters, Fight DMD, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all of our terrific sponsors for making this day happen. We'll take some of your calls coming up next. It's Ramona Will, powered by all four seasons of 104.5 The Zone.
When it comes to large home repairs, a lot of the time we homeowners pretend we don't see the warning signs. I know I do. I'm guilty of that. We're afraid of what we're going to hear. This is especially true with waterproofing and foundation repair. It could be something big that needs to be fixed. It could be something small now that will become a bigger problem, or it could be nothing at all. In these moments, you want a peace of mind. That's when you need United Structural Systems. With USS, you get problem solvers, experts to educate you and help you understand what's happening with your home. USS will provide an honest diagnosis and stand by their work and warranties. USS is based right here in Middle Tennessee and is a member of our community. So when it comes to something as important as your home, USS is the company who cares and the company you can trust. USS, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. Find them online at USSTN.com or call 615-227-2275. We guarantee our best. Call USS.
It's Ramona Will, powered by all four seasons on 104.5 The Zone. Will Bowling and Ramon Foster and you at 615-737-1045. Preseason MVPs. That's what everybody wants this time of year. Get into some college football headlines coming up in hour 3 as well. And see if we can find an answer on if Ireland extradites with the United States. To send Scott Frost back home.
Scott Frost needs to be sent somewhere.
Somewhere.
Man. Golly. Also, we're getting some special teams preseason MVPs too, man.
That's right.
And we hadn't talked about him, which is a good thing. But Randy Bullock, man. Shout out to Buck for getting him on his show. One of the first ones that kind of steamrolled that for us, man.
That's right.
My former teammate also, Randy Bullock.
Really?
Yeah, me and Randy were teammates for a little while
Boys.
in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Been through this thing, Will.
That's right.
Been through this thing, man. But not just that. He's making them from 50. I think this past weekend he hit one from 51, if I'm not mistaken, Will. So
had a couple.
He has had a couple, man. I'm glad to see his growth. I'm glad to see him be – let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Be consistent.
Yeah. It's good when the kicker is not a point of conversation.
Oh, my gosh.
Titans have not had that luxury the past couple seasons.
I'd hate to say knock on wood, but let's just make sure that we keep them
now.
focused, right? But also Stonehouse is getting some love also.
Sure.
Who'd ever thought he'd push a vet, a staple in Tennessee Titans football like Brett Kern?
Sure.
His post-game conversation kind of lended itself to like I'm appreciative of the opportunity that I had.
Right.
I hate that for him, man. I don't hate it for him because it's the business.
It was kind of tough to hear him reflecting and being sentimental and, talking with reporters post-game and essentially saying that word for word his quote was, I told Ryan Stonehouse when he got here, I've only seen 3 or 4 guys punt the ball the way that you do. It's high praise from a guy who has seen a lot of guys punt footballs, and it's high praise from the guy who has worn the Tennessee Titans jersey more than anybody else in the history of this franchise since it moved to Nashville.
That's crazy.
Crazy to think about. But Ryan Stonehouse is a very good answer for, I guess, what would be your defensive MVP for the Titans this preseason.
I saw a guy get upseated by a rookie before. So much so, Will, that when it happened, I was shocked because I was so young and dumb, okay? But 2 years before, the guy was a part of a team that won a Super Bowl.
Right.
He started in that game. He was a free agent. Actually, former Titan, by the way. Justin Hartwig is the guy, man. And, of course, it's documented. There's no reason not to, put a picture to or put a name to what the actual story is. But when Marquise Pouncey came in, there was first-round draft pick. I'm guessing if there were punters drafted, I'm guessing Stonehouse would be one of those highly rated guys. But when you're in that position, dog, to knowing that you got to do what's best for your team, no matter if they're young or inexperienced, you got to make that call. And I don't think the Titans are going to keep 2 punters on staff.
No, definitely not.
And if you were a betting man, where are you leaning?
Ryan Stonehouse is the guy.
Yeah.
He definitively. I don't think there's any question at this point.
There's no lean.
This quickly went from, oh, wow, this is going to suck if this happens, to maybe it's 50-50. It's neck and neck. I think he won the job pretty definitively on Saturday.
He did.
They wanted to see him hold.
Yep.
They wanted to see him over the entire game.
Yep.
7 punts, 3 inside the 20.
Did you see the one bounce back at the 2?
There was one that bounced back from the 2-yard line that was already 55+.
Yeah.
He's showing the accuracy. He's showing you the knuckleball. He was good.
What do you do with a guy that you know is that good?
You keep him. I mean, at this point, we mentioned it last week that the extra yardage that you gain from what he can do flipping the field is going to outweigh the yardage you're going to lose of the amount of times you're going to be inside the 10 instead of maybe just inside the 20 with Ryan Stonehouse. Like Brett Kern could get you on the 10. Stonehouse might put it through the end zone and you're on the 20. But Stonehouse's best is probably 20, maybe even 25 yards longer than the best distance-wise that Brett Kern is going to give you.
And this is the reality of it, too. It's probably a deeper conversation where we need to put a pin in it, man. But with the way the Titans run offense, man, meaning your heavy run game, meaning that it takes time to get going, we can say that. You can say that, right, Will? You'd agree with that?
Yeah, I would.
I don't want to be too, just over the top by saying this is a slow offense. It's not a slow offense. The method in which it operates, Will, takes time. It is a, hey, let's chip away at the rock type of offense. And in those situations, man, if you're at 3rd and 8 and you're going to run it and you get, you're the opposite side of the 50 or your side of the 50, guess what's your best, strongest suit?
Right.
The foot, the leg.
For sure.
Your kicker, man. And this is the other part, too, in which this team was built on so far is this defense. This defense looks pretty stacked.
Yeah, it does.
I don't think
Looks
they're
deep.
accumulating these safeties, these secondary guys for no particular reason, Will.
Well, they kept 7 safeties last year.
I
out of
know.
camp. They kept 13 defensive backs on their 53-man roster a season ago based on the emphasis that Mike Vrabel, Craig Ackerman, and John Robinson put on special teams and on the way those guys help them out in that process of the game. It's a priority that they've had from a roster-building perspective at this time of every year.
So because of that, when you have Ryan Stonehouse that's been able to pin teams back 60-plus yards in the air.
In the field.
Like, that's the portion of the team where you say, we won the field position today.
I'm telling you, it's going to also require you to be better tacklers
And-
on special teams because more hang time, means that you're not going to have to tackle as much. You're going to get more fair catches. But as far as flipping the field, there's going to be a lot of return men that are going to be backing up a long way.
Yeah.
And you've got to make sure that you're not out kicking your coverage here as well.
That is a great – dude, have you been watching football or something all your life? What the hell? Who
Take
is
the
this
surprise
guy?
out your voice, please. Take the surprise out your voice.
What?
Lord have mercy.
I was a little surprised. Shave, did you –
Look, we're not talking about golf trophies for too long, man. We're talking football. That's what we're here to do.
My dog. Hey, I'm going to pat you on your back, man. That was a solid take right there, dude. Proud of you.
Could be an adjustment.
Hey, you made an adjustment.
For special teams.
That is a real thing, though, Will. The fact that, look, he can outkick those guys, and they need to have speed to get down and cover. Because what's the worst thing? A really dynamic punt returner with a whole lot of space.
The worst thing on the field, the best thing in life, out kicking your coverage, something the Titans want to avoid, something that, the rest of us are okay with.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. Before we get to college football after the break, we teased Ugo Amadi's stats before our previous break. 37 snaps on defense, 11 more on special teams. Mike Vrabel saying every safety, all these guys kind of have a particular skill set. Blitzed, batted, had good ball disruption. Thought he tried to come in and support the run game. That is exactly what Mike Keith told us, Ramon Foster, on Friday.
It is.
Saying that not only is he a good tackler, he is a willing tackler in the run game.
Yep.
Physical, aggressive to the football, giving the Titans a little bit of a different look at that position. Quickly, I know we've got a break.
Yeah.
Ugo Amadi is as much, and I think more so, a backup for Elijah Molden at nickel than he is a backup safety for Amani Hooker.
Yep. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, Elijah, he's got precedence over him right now.
Right.
But just in general, we got to, if he is the guy right now, as Ugo Amadi, he's got experience.
Absolutely.
He understands the assignment, and he's also a willing participant, Will. So, yes, all of that lines up until we figure out what's going on with Elijah. And guess what, Vrabel? We get injury reports now.
That's right. You can't,
Yes, we
can't
do.
keep the wool over our eyes any longer. What we understood the assignment of is that it's halftime of the show. We're going to stretch our legs. I'm going to play some marching band music in the break. I'm going to go tell our golfers here in a minute that they can get started. Do I hit a gentleman start your engines or a gentleman start your driver?
You got it today?
I got it.
Man, it's whatever you want it to be. It's whatever you want it to be.
Oh, I have to fire a shotgun, Kirby says. Oh, wow. All
I was
right.
about to say, I got it somewhere around there.
You do? All right. Well, we'll see how well that goes. I'll give you a report on that. We'll talk some college football coming up next. Rashad Weaver at 9 o'clock, John Glennon at 9:20. Halftime of the show with Ramona Will, live from Greystone on 104.5 The Zone.
It is 8:02. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Titans ended the preseason with a come-from-behind 26-23 win over the Arizona Cardinals on Saturday night at Nissan Stadium. Malik Willis started and played most of the game, went 15 of 23 for 131 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Meanwhile, Logan Woodside completed 5 of 9 passes for 43 yards on the final drive of the game, scored on a run on 4th down from the 9-yard line with 52 seconds remaining to give the Titans the win. Nolensville Little League finished the Little League World Series in 4th place, falling to Chinese Taipei 2-0 on Sunday in the 3rd-place consolation game. College football week 0 from Saturday, Vanderbilt cruised past Hawaii 63-10. The most points Vandy has scored against an FBS opponent since 1941. And Nashville SC routed the Vancouver Whitecaps 3-0 on Saturday night in British Columbia. For the boys in gold, they claimed their first back-to-back victories since April. For foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Halftime of the show, hour number 3, off and running. It is 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic. Ramon and Will, powered by All Four Seasons, live here this morning from Greystone Golf Club in Dixon. Jonathan Schaefer making us sound good back in our Cumulus Nashville studios. Ramon Foster, Evolve for Life, NFL veteran, sitting to my left. He's surprised when I make good comments about football. I'm Will Bowling. I'm trying to make him not be as surprised when I have an astute observation. It does happen occasionally.
It does.
And we talk some college football here in hour number 3. We've got Rashad Weaver coming up at 9 a.m. Ramon Foster's Titans preseason MVP. And we've got John Glennon at 9:20. This show has flown by so far.
It has, man. And actually, I was a little late coming back from halftime, man. The bathrooms were long. You know, the troughs get long,
I was going to say
man.
the trough lines.
The trough lines were long. I had to get a coffee.
Our brains went to the exact same place.
Yeah. I had to get a coffee refill, man. So we're back, man. If you missed me on Zone Camera, it was me speeding down the hallways to make it back to be right next to young William. You know, it's all good.
He's an athlete.
Man.
Athlete, ladies and
gentlemen. It's all good. At least I'm not the 20. Never mind.
The what?
The 2020 traffic.
Oh, God. That's 2 Isaiah Wilson mentions today. That's like too many. 104.5 The Zone's Summer Golf Classic, brought to you by Areca Vodka, Milagro Tequila, Hendricks Gin. We've got a ton of great sponsors. We've got great food and drink. We've got Rich Ferris double fisting bottles of whiskey here this morning at 8 a.m. For the people. We've got a full day of golf going on today. Golf is the number one thing that I enjoy that I hate at, that I'm really bad at. There are a lot of things that I enjoy doing that I'm good at. This is not one of them. I think this would actually be most people's pick of something they enjoy doing that they're really bad at.
Yeah, and most people continue to go back and forth with it just all the time. My neighbor, by the way, was in a tournament this weekend, I think in Brentwood, and they had this huge pot from what he said as far as like win totals, and he said he was on the day that, you know, they needed to win. But of course, when you're with partners and stuff like that, right. I can't. If we're partners at a golf course, Will, you probably gonna carry us, okay? I might be great at the short game. I'm decent at that.
That's all I can do.
Really?
Are you good off the tee?
No.
Okay, so what I can do, I've got a 3-wood that is straight, a straight 3-wood that's. I'm pushing 200 to 210.
It's rolling.
I would be a good scramble partner because I'm going to give you like the baseline shot. Yeah. I'm going to consistently hit it straight. I'm like your grandfather. I'm like your grandfather, except your grandfather beats you in golf and you don't expect it. I'm not going to beat you. You're going to be like, oh, that was of all the golf shots I've seen, that was one of them.
No.
But then my short game is great.
Mine is good.
Which is weird.
You know, I did the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame golf tournament with Brad Willis. Shout out to our guy, Brad.
The guy?
Man.
Absolutely.
Our guy.
Absolutely.
But I could hit a few, okay, when I wasn't overthinking them, as Curb told us earlier, man. But my short game was... I want to call it elite, but I might get called out. You know, like I'm here to tell
you are the Joe Flacco of short games.
I'm here to tell.
You want to say it's elite, but you're not totally sure.
It's like fishing for me right now. Okay, like that's me. I'm gonna tell my story how I see it fit. but I don't want to get called out by somebody, okay? That's all I'm saying. I was with some.
You don't want to get called out.
Yeah, because I was with some guys from Italy's, man, and we had a real good time, okay?
Italy's Barbecue, sponsor of today's summer golf class.
You know the way I look at you when you make a really dope, like, football, like, analogy? They looked at me like, hell, you might actually be all right at
So
this.
the last time I played, I was about 30 yards downhill in the rough, about 30 yards away, and I holed out up a hill from the rough.
Yeah.
Playing in Cool Springs a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
People would be like, oh, all right, you should just quit. Like I did. Like I haven't played since. Literally have not
What's
played
crazy, I thought you were like an all-the-time, like, golfer, though.
So I am. I started taking lessons in January.
Okay.
I started playing last July. I got clubs for Christmas this past Christmas.
Yeah.
From my dad, and started taking lessons. I'm like 7 lessons in out of 10.
Yeah.
So I know just enough now to where I'm actually like as bad as when I started. But now I know what I shouldn't be doing.
Yep, I'm with you.
Which is the most horrifying place you can be.
It is.
In golf is like, okay, like I'm really bad at this. Like you can't really get mad at yourself because you're just really bad.
You recognize exactly what it is.
So then you make like your first improvement, and you're like, oh, I'm just better at this now.
Yeah.
And then like a month later, you're like, no, I'm not better at this now. I just went through a couple of weeks where I was hitting the ball really well. And so it's legitimately a step forward and 2 steps back. And the next time you try to take 2 steps forward, and then like 2 months later, you take 3 steps back after that.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I like it. It's
What's
good
wild,
vibes.
though, man, is a bunch of my friends as of late, like, I got a bunch of guys that play golf, too. You know, it's just like, dude, you should come out here and join us. I'm like, man, like, my schedule is not going to allow me to be good.
I feel like we have the perfect schedule to be good at golf. Like
We
we should start playing together.
But then we get
afternoon.
busy as soon as we get done with the job, though.
Oh,
At least
true.
I do.
No,
you
I
know,
understand.
like, you get busy, too. So, like, the time that I have is, like, gone by the time the show is done. So I'm like.
I'm just learning the magic of the post-show nap as well.
Yeah. Condition
I
yourself.
wake up in a different galaxy.
Condition
afterwards.
yourself. My wife told me the other day, she's like, you don't get enough sleep. You should take more naps. I just go.
You're like, I would love to.
I would love to. I can't log off, man. I got to log off at times, man. But, yeah,
Is the dog going to allow you to take a nap?
the dog will. He used to come up to me and, like put his nose on my hand. And, like, I'm like, Zeus, like, beat it. Or he'd be all in my face. You know how dogs, like, be right in your face while you're sleeping? Like,
Hey, bud.
you shouldn't
Save
breathe
that
the
love
same
for
air.
a little bit later.
Yeah, man. Like, but I'll say this. Ever since I got him fixed, though,
Yeah.
he's been so chill. I know,
Avoiding
man. He's been so. Shout out to my dog Zeus, man. It is what it is. No, I'm not getting Christmas trees already, man.
Getting a Christmas tree. Lord.
They joked me about my Christmas tree
Oh, okay.
addiction.
615-737-1045 is the number. College football getting started. How
Man,
about Vanderbilt?
hey,
Vanderbilt getting a win.
Did you see the tweet this weekend?
Oh, which
from
one?
SEC Mike?
No. Oh, yes. He did a great power ranking. So every week, SEC Mike on Twitter, Michael Bratton, our friend, does a power ranking after every single week of 1 through 14 in the SEC, and he did 1 Vanderbilt, and then everyone else tied for second. Between that and Nebraska being the best 0-1 team in football so far this year, really eventful start to college football.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of college football and old stuff, man, us being former college players, JLTB tossed all my trophies dating back to 95 not too long ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I probably need to do that. I've got a lot of like old baseball trophies when I played baseball.
Yeah.
It was a very, very long time ago. I set the sport of baseball back at least 5 years every time I went up to the plate. So I've still got those messing around somewhere.
We spoke about that in hour 1.
Yeah,
man,
the question today at Ramona Will on Twitter, by the way, if you missed it, is what is the most useless trophy that you own?
Yeah.
Since we gave out preseason MVPs and, somebody else will get a second place golf trophy today. Not useless. It's
pretty much.
It's not useless unless you're on this station and brag about it. Then it's kind of useless. But otherwise, congratulations.
I guess.
Yeah, right.
I guess, Will. But, yeah, I tossed away all of mine. Look at Dylan, 23, a Vandy fan. Anchor down. I hope y'all pull that anchor up to get back to the mainland, okay? They should be back soon, Curb. They landed a couple minutes ago, baby. Guess what?
Tell you what, Vanderbilt though, like I know they haven't had a lot of success in the SEC in basketball and football, but basketball and football players at Vanderbilt have gotten trips to Hawaii in the past year. It's got to count for something. Of all the moral victories that one can celebrate, a trip to Hawaii that is all expense paid,
I think he's number one on the list.
No, it's so condescending.
And Schaefer thinks that I'm being condescending and sarcastic.
You
I'm
are
actually
being so
serious.
VFL condescending.
I'm being
right
serious.
now.
No, this is not me doing
he's
a
pulling
bit.
to me right
this
now.
This is not me doing a bit making fun of Vandy.
Bless her heart, but they get to go to Hawaii.
Of all of the things that you can do off the field that I will celebrate for you, an all-expense trip paid to Hawaii
Regular season
is great.
Regular season at that.
Yeah,
Like,
Vandy played well. I'm giving him credit.
No, you're not.
No,
you're
I am.
Shave, he's pulling to me right now. That's what he's doing. He's blessing their hearts.
Y'all petty as hell.
But no, I will say this, man. Mike Wright killed it this past weekend, man.
Schaefer, I'm actually just bitter that I had Hawaii plus 9.5.
This is what Will did. This is what Will literally did.
What he did.
No,
He
I'm
did.
bitter about the fact that I bet Hawaii plus 9.5 as I was hosting Titans Talkback with Kevin Dyson on Saturday night. And I saw the first touchdown for Hawaii. Was like, all right, we're having a good betting day. Bet a little bit on soccer. You know, we made money on the golf. Hawaii let me down.
Hawaii
Let me down.
let you down by the tone of 63 points, Will.
It did.
63 to 10.
It was not great.
They started off hot. I'll be honest with you. It's like, oh.
So this is and this is something maybe we should do. I'm going to workshop this idea live on air.
What you got?
I haven't
for
mentioned
us?
this. Schaefer's
They say
gonna tell
never
me
give out your good
if
ideas.
this is
man.
a bad idea or not. So my roommate has a betting pool in his office.
Bad idea. As soon as you mentioned your
That is
roommate, bad
no.
idea.
Relax.
Who's about to move soon?
Possibly. I got a
Okay.
shout out in a minute.
I mean, would you want to live with Will?
I mean, I'm debating sitting right beside him right now.
Many are asking. Many are asking. Not me, but many. But it's a betting pool where you bet against the spread, but every point that you win or lose, you either get that money or you lose it.
Yeah.
So if you'd bet Hawaii plus 9.5, Vandy wins by 53.
Yeah.
You lose $62.
Look at that math.
So you're 62 points down just on one game. So that way, you've really got to be careful betting against the spread, because then if it goes the other direction, you really, really lose it. I think it's a fascinating way to bet.
Well, everyone on the chat and also social media are saying that your Vandy comment was very petty.
Good. That's what we do on this show, right? Oh, what is this? Did I come to the wrong radio show this morning?
No, you didn't. You're at the
John
right
Schaefer,
spot.
please correct me if I'm on the wrong
I
program.
mean, I didn't say you were wrong.
I mean, there's
Stephen A.
somebody.
Smith, be nice. Be nice. We don't have to go there. I mean, you're not wrong.
Christopher Bailey says on the Zone chat, okay, Vandy, good job. Instead of 0-10, you'll go 1-9.
Look,
Just screw the other two
I
games.
like Clark Lee, and I'm kind of the way Slay is. Like meeting Clark Lee and meeting Mike Wright at SEC Media Days. Like rooting for the city, man. I'm betting
hate
the
you
over.
right
I'm
now.
betting the over on their win total
Stop.
this year.
The
But I'm
cake-
telling you, in the past, I'm going to celebrate the fact they just got to go to Hawaii.
Cake already has icing on it, Will. You don't have to continue to pile on, man.
Oh man,
You can't hide it, can you?
I love it.
You just shout out to Vandy, okay? They won 63-10 against Hawaii Rainbow Warriors this weekend in
You
Hawaii.
didn't have to throw the rainbow in.
I did.
Well, now that the condescending Vanderbilt portion of the show is over this morning,
Tino
we
in
can,
the chat says Will sleeps in khakis. I'm not even really sure what that's supposed to mean, but I like it.
That's news to me. Interesting. Okay. 615-737-1045.
right now.
I mentioned to my buddy Mitch. I got to give a shout out. I was at my buddy Mitchell, our friend Savannah, got engaged over the weekend.
Congrats.
Got to give a shout out to my buddy Mitchell. Big listener of the show, big fan of the Zone since we were both kids growing up here.
Nice.
So got to give him a shout out.
Congratulations,
mention
Mitch
the
and
boy.
Savannah, man.
Mitch and the
beautiful.
boy.
She
and
said
I've got
yes?
Yeah, she did.
She did say yes.
She did say it. It's an important answer.
Oh, I saw that picture on Facebook, on Will's Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was like, who are those strangers next to Will that he doesn't know?
Well, you were just probably surprised to see me photographed with a girl. Our friend JT always said that. There was one time I was
would be
hosting.
correct.
I was hosting a 3HL with Don Davenport on New Year's Eve. I kid you not. JT looks me in the eye before the first segment. His New Year's Eve show. This is at about 2:59 before we go on air. He goes, Will, I just wanted to. No, this is actually on air that he said this, I think. He goes, Will, I just wanted to congratulate you. You're spending New Year's Eve with a woman that's not your mother for the first time in your life. Word for word what he said to me.
JT on the line.
And so every time I post a picture with a girl of any kind, he will respond and just be like, "So is this a family member, or have you finally gone on a date?" And it's like, JT, like, let me live, man.
What's crazy?
Let me live. Let me be great.
Will is a handsome kid, man. Like,
Jonathan Schaefer's going to cut your mic off if you keep complimenting me. 615
Actually, I can't today. I have to kill the entire feed.
Continue. The
No,
praise.
Kurt. Don't do it,
The
Kurt.
praise of one William Lee Bowling continues after this. 104.5 The Zone. It is Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone, live from Greystone Golf Club in Dixon this morning. 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic. Thanks to Pepsi, Southern Trophy House, TriStar Beverage for helping make this event happen. 615-737-1045 as we hit the college football headlines from the weekend. And, well, it could always be worse if you're a football fan this weekend, because you could always be a Nebraska fan.
Oh, my.
How about that? Second straight season, Scott Frost in Nebraska, one of the major stories from week 0 for the worst possible reason. A year ago, they opened as a 6.5-point favorite on the road to Illinois. They lose 30-22.
Goodness.
Now they've lost 7 straight games after being favored by 12.5 points in Dublin over the weekend.
Yep.
Falling 31-28 against Northwestern. And Ramon Foster, it's because they tried an onside kick up by 2 possessions.
Up by 2 possessions.
It was not great.
Ego got in the way.
So you know how many times this happened last year?
Talk to me, Will.
Where a team up by double digits tried an onside kick. How many times do you think that happened in 2021?
Maybe 1.
Kirby says 8.
1. That's you don't do that. 1.
2.
2.
Happened
Wow.
2 times of teams leading by 10 or more points in the second half attempted an onside kick last season.
Goodness.
Scott Frost now 15-30 at his alma mater, and Nebraska is now 5-21 in one-score games under Scott Frost.
Yeah, they are. It's never a good thing whenever they start. Like, the first article that comes out on you is coach on the hot seat in game 1 in week 0. Will, for the life of me, going for an onside kick while you're up has to be one of the silliest things I've ever heard anybody do. Like, this is one of them. He was on foreign land. They were in Dublin, Ireland, right? Up, showing off against Northwestern, doing their thing, right? Looking real good, feeling real good. And he said to himself, hey, you, coach, tapped him on the leg. Watch this.
Yeah, right.
Watch this.
Right.
When men say watch this, it's usually not a good thing. hey, real
Usually
quick.
a broken bone or some kind of
Or
embarrassment.
losing your damn job. Like,
that's
that's
right.
what's next for him. Hey, if you ever around any dudes that say, hey, man, hey, y'all, watch this. You should probably pull your camera out.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay? Like, it's probably not going to be anything good.
That's right.
He decided to tap on the defensive coordinator's, like, leg because he talked this over with the freaking special teams coach, like, coach.
And it would have been better if this was a kicker seeing something that they saw on film.
Yeah.
And something they circled in meetings and said, hey, look, if you get this certain look, if you see 23 up there on the front line of kick coverage,
Go ahead.
turn his head,
Yeah.
Early. Hey, we want to watch this. If you see that look on the kick before, try something. No, Scott Frost admitted after the game, it was my idea. I take responsibility for it, and essentially said that we've got to give these kids something to believe in, that they can do it.
Yeah.
Late in games, up by, a couple scores, and to win these games when it's only a one-possession game. Not the way to do it, Scott.
You know how you give them belief?
You don't try the onside kick.
Yeah, you continue the way that it's honestly, he did the opposite of what you should do in order to give your team belief, because if you want to show confidence in the way that your offense is playing,
Yes.
in the way that your defense is playing,
I'm listening.
kick it deep.
Yep. Kick it deep.
Show confidence in the way that your offense is played, that you don't need the gimmick of trying to steal a possession in order to maintain the lead that you have. I mean, the guy hired a new offensive coordinator, Mark Whipple, made major changes to his offensive coaching staff. He's under contract through 2026.
Yeah.
His salary was cut by $1 million,
million.
and his guarantee if he's fired went down from $15 million to $7.5 million. I don't think any of these things really instill a whole lot of confidence in Nebraska football.
What you're saying is he was already on the hot seat.
Oh, the seat was already the seat warmer was a little too
It was
warm.
already too warm.
It
He
was
had a
on full power
malfunction.
in the summer.
Yeah, and just for people just trying to say, well, that's what a coach. I'd love to have a coach that would do this. It shows that he was aggressive. That was one thing that was kind of said about Butch later on. It's like, Butch, you got to get a little bit more risky. Remember, like, he was very conservative in his approach to, like, not lose games instead of going to win them. That's one thing I remember about his tenure later on, man. But they ended up doing the onside kick, okay, and what's wild about this, they scored 5 plays later, Northwestern did. They ended up scoring 14 points, ended up winning the game 31-28 because a coach on foreign land decided to say, watch this. And he gave it up. And not just that. That is a long flight back, number one. I think you almost more than anything kill the morale of your team. He said this right here. I made the call, so it's on me. At some point in the game, I felt that's the thing. You can't believe yourself right there, Scott Frost. And so I felt all the momentum was on my side.
I don't think we should trust the feelings that Scott Frost has in the middle of football games.
I thought if we recovered it, we could win the game. No, you could win the game because you're up 14 points and your defense is playing well enough.
That's right.
You swung momentum to the other side. It's like you really can't foresee them scoring 14 straight and us sputtering after we played so well to start the second half on offense. Those are excuses. If I had it over, I wouldn't have made the call. That's his other mistake, Will. Should have stood by it.
How about this this stat? Our buddy Tim on YouTube mentions this at 104.5 The Zone TV, where you can watch the show. I saw this on Twitter over the weekend, too, that Nebraska could win 50 games in a row, and Scott Frost would still not have a better record than Bo Pelini.
Wow.
Who they let go.
But to get him.
To get him. And to try to go for it.
Gosh.
And to say that, hey, 8-4 is not good enough for us here. It's wild.
You know, Scott Frost also, he's from Nebraska, played there, national championship teams. All that stuff lines up. I know a lot of people, and I know Vols fans do this too. You want that old thing back, like the coach that left, that Lane Kiffin is basically what I'm saying, or anybody else that say, hey, man, you're from here, I love you, let's do this because you care. Well, Scott Frost is a telltale like story of why you don't go get that guy sometimes.
Sure.
Like you become emotional in your love for that university, especially in sports. Like that wasn't a smart coaching decision. And this isn't a first-time head coach. This isn't his first year at Nebraska.
Right.
This is a guy that's been there, that's really been taking it upon his shoulders to say, I'm going to change this around. We will be that national powerhouse. You know what I did this morning, Will? I went to Go Vols 24/7.
Yeah.
I looked at the overall recruiting ratings, and I went to Nebraska.
Where was Nebraska?
They're all the way down. I didn't even look at the number because they're 10th in the Big Ten, okay? Let's just throw that out there. 10th in the Big Ten.
Which is not last place, despite the name of the conference.
And they have 3 4-star guys. They got an interior 4-star. They got a wide receiver that's a 4-star from Louisiana, and they got a outside edge guy, if I'm not mistaken, that's a 4-star from IMG Academy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm doing if I'm a recruiting coordinator today?
Yeah.
I'm calling them.
Oh, 100%.
I'm calling them.
Calling them with those international minutes that you've got in Dublin.
100%. Always recruiting.
You can't call home anymore. You got to save those minutes to keep recruits from jumping ship after one game.
That's what I'm saying. You got a guy from Texas that's an interior 4-star lineman. If I'm a coach, I'm on the phone to him. Hey, you want to go play for that? He's not going to be there this year. Scott Frost has really put that organization, that school, Nebraska, in a bad situation because he got emotional about bullying Northwestern.
Right.
Those kids got their own union.
Yeah.
You really thought you was going to outsmart them? Like, God, dog, how stupid is that? Like, sometimes we blame the players a lot, especially in college, right? Lo and behold, there's a guy like Scott Frost behind the clipboard with a microphone that's calling plays like this.
Yeah.
Let me get off this soapbox, but that's just stupid, Will, because there's a lot that goes into that. Now those kids that are there right now are going to have to reset themselves.
That's right.
For a new head coach.
It's a hard cycle to end, and it's a cycle that Tennessee's trying to end too. And look, from the Tennessee perspective, Tennessee and Nebraska can relate in a lot of ways to the way that they were obviously fantastic 80s and 90s. Tennessee more so in the 90s than in the 80s. Nebraska was both in the early 2000s. I'll give you your flowers as well.
Thank you.
But it's hard to break that cycle of when you visualize so many times not getting it done against a rival and coming up short in big atmospheres where your fan base has shown up in droves. And I'll give Nebraska credit. That fan base is always there.
They always are.
The sea of red that was in Dublin. It almost makes me more sad for Nebraska.
Me too.
Because all of those people went all of that way and saw their team, again, lose in a one-score game.
Facts.
That's all they did. Thank you, Jonathan Schaefer. And from the Tennessee perspective, Tennessee's been in the exact same position.
Yeah.
The fan base will continue to show up. They will continue to support that team. And now you have a Tennessee fan base to transition to their expectations for this year that I will actually give them credit. On social media, Jonathan Schaefer and I have talked about this off-air many times. I don't think Tennessee fans are the ones this time around.
Not this time around.
That are fueling the hype train.
Right.
And that are trying to, 10-2, trying to win the East. I think Georgia's emergence has finally given Tennessee fans a little bit of pause after the Jeremy Pruitt era to just say, look, you got to win me over first before I'm going to totally buy into what you're doing here. Where Nebraska fans are in a difficult circumstance is that's their guy.
It is.
That's a Nebraska guy.
That they took.
Who took UCF to a college football New Year's Six bowl game, college football playoff New Year's Six bowl game, and won a quote-unquote national championship. Talking about useless trophies. Those useless trophies in sports that we're talking about today.
Absolutely, man. And this is another thing, too, under Scott Frost, man. Special teams have contributed to Nebraska's struggles under Frost, who fell to 15-30 at his alma mater and 5 of 21 in one-score games. I
mean, that's almost like I'm not even mad, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Like, that's hard to do.
It is hard to do.
You ate the whole wheel of cheese. Like, that's hard to do.
I'm not even mad, Baxter.
Thank you.
I'm not even mad, Baxter.
You're a little mad, Baxter.
I'm impressed, man.
I'm impressed.
But this is how the cycle never ends, though, with coaches. And especially, like you said, Will, to those starving fan bases like Nebraska, like Tennessee. Who's another one that's in that box of just trying to – Michigan State. Miami is trying to get out of it. Florida's trying to stay above water. Texas.
Florida State, I'll put in there, too.
Florida State,
and
Texas.
USC. Yeah. That's kind of the group.
There's a few. Yeah, it is, man. And the fan bases will do whatever. That's why the NIL deals have been what they were. I was talking to a parent on the travel team who was with this weekend, and he was just the first thing he said about Tennessee. Well, you guys really went out in that NIL, and I was like, whoa. Let's not act like Notre Dame's not dabbling, okay?
Everybody. Anybody who wants to take that next step and go from Tier 2 back to Tier 1.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why I'm not as confident in Mark Stoops in Kentucky and what they've been able to do is because Mark Stoops will have nothing to do with NIL.
No.
He said time and time again that the word collective is not going to be used around our facility. Well, then a New Year's Six bowl game is not going to be around your facility either.
It's not.
You're going to be stuck in Citrus Bowl, and that's great for Kentucky football.
I guess.
But but the programs like Tennessee, Nebraska, Miami, and USC have got to be more ambitious in that. And have to create that own momentum. That way you bring in the kind of guy that doesn't need the extra push, the extra confidence boost, because you bring in the five-star guy, the dudes. Nebraska didn't have those dudes yet. Tennessee's working on getting those guys. USC in the transfer portal has brought in those guys, even though they won't let any of their own guys go into that transfer portal and play right away. That's the interesting part of the conversation right now is the way that you change that identity, because that formula – Ramon is changing.
Yes.
The formula of how you change how is Tennessee going to figure it out in the fourth quarter versus, all right, how's Tennessee going to blow this again?
Yeah.
Because that's the identity of what Tennessee football has been over the past 10 years.
It is,
How are they going to fall short against their rivals this time around?
Yeah. And you try to escape that because that changes the mindset of your organization and your players too. Like you got to know there's a point in which those Nebraska players right now, and of course they'll rally, and it is the first game. They lost a conference game, though, overseas in a fashion that they shouldn't have. And for those players trying to get past that era of what Nebraska has been, I'm sure the message boards are lit up, Will.
Oh, yeah.
You know that.
Nebraska message boards is it is.
That sound right there.
It's the 85 Bears of message boards.
Yeah.
Like all other message boards are compared to Nebraska message boards.
It blows my mind. Like I'm looking legitimately at their recruiting right now on Husker 24/7 on 24/7 Sports, man. There's a kid who's an edge kid that just committed on 8/25/22.
That's tough.
And you lose like that.
And the Purple Vandy.
He's an IMG kid, which means he's a really good athlete. For the most part, those kids that come out of there like that. And you got to look at the fact that this coach is recruiting me, and he's probably not going to be there if he doesn't turn this around.
Probably not.
It's week 1 to week 0 for college football.
7-game losing streak.
But that's 7 games now?
7 games.
Since last year?
Their last win was against Northwestern a season ago. A dominant win over Northwestern a season ago. 56-7.
That's why he got cocky.
Last October was their last win.
Again.
And then that team just turned around and beat them in another country. It's not great.
It still counts just because it happened in another country.
It still counts. 615-737-1045. Wildcat will lead us off on the phones when we come back. We take a look at some headlines of the SEC down on the plains, Ramon Foster.
Yeah.
The Auburn Tigers have got some issues.
Some.
They have got some issues.
All right.
We'll transition to a team that is, just doing an athletic director search at the beginning of week 1.
And also an athletic director that had some words for him.
That's right. Tennessee taking a victory lap over someone else's dysfunction.
And
the shoe is on the other foot. Is it me?
His brother.
Is it me or have these tables turned? Coming up next, Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone.
You see his brother, too? You see his brother go? As leaders in disaster cleanup and restoration, the pros at ServPro are prepared for anything, such as the relief valve on your water heater failing, pouring gallons of water into your finished basement while you're out of town. Yeah, think about that for a second. Or an electrical shortage in your office that causes extensive smoke, fire, and water damage, or a musty odor indicating you might have a mold problem. You need a lot more than help sometimes cleaning up, and that's when you contact ServPro. They have the equipment and expertise to clean up damage from fire, water, or mold, but they also offer a variety of construction services ranging from drywall patching and document drying all the way to complete structure rebuilds. ServPro is the call to bring your home or business back as good as new and as soon as possible. So call the official ServPro Downtown Nashville operators at 800 ServPro to see how we can help you get back to like it never even happened. ServPro, cleaning, restoration, construction. It's franchised, independently owned and operated.
Guys, thank you guys for coming out. Excited to have you guys out here. We got great food, great drink. Looking forward to a good day. So I'm going to get you guys officially started. So hit them long, hit them straight, tighten up, and gentlemen, start your golf cart engines. Let's go. Have a good one. Come on, an electric factory. Just starting off the 2022 1045 The Zone Summer Golf Classic here at Greystone Golf Club. Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons. Will Bowling and Ramon Foster with you. Jonathan Schaefer, your letter grade, please, for my introduction for our golfers.
C-.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like my AP chemistry grade in high school. Literally.
Well,
C-.
don't forget in middle school.
C's get degrees there, Will.
That's
They
right.
do.
I
And
have
you know
one.
what? We also
if anyone
need-
asks, I have one.
Your transcript's a little iffy like Ramon, so it's okay.
They are. That's why we went to UT.
Go Vols. What about you? How did I do? Give me a letter grade.
Considering mine was an F, I admit that, okay?
So you're grading me on a curve here?
I'm grading you on a curve. Like, anything better than mine is passing, okay?
Okay.
But I made up for it on the second turn. I will say the second time, I was good to go. Yours,
Well, the second time you were better.
I was better. Will, your grade on that one was very safe. I'm giving you a C. Your tone didn't go
That's fine.
up or two down.
That's
You
Look,
get a C.
Yeah, I didn't want to do too much. I didn't want to try
See,
to
that's
aim
the
for an
problem.
A and get an
That's-
F in the process.
That's the problem, right
Short and
there.
sweet. These guys want to play golf.
If you knew you were getting graded, you should have went all out. Okay?
Just means you're a slacker.
Didn't
That's
prepare
pretty
any,
much doing enough to get by.
Didn't prepare any preparation. Didn't prepare any notes.
Didn't
Speech.
prepare any preparation. Which one, H? Is that what we're doing?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'll take a C. I would have given myself like a B minus.
Yeah.
Giving myself the grade Malik Willis gave himself
fair.
after the win over the Cardinals over the weekend.
He
It
gave
was
himself
fine.
a B minus.
It was okay.
Hey, that's
he did.
actually pretty cocky right there. I like it.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
Andrew on 1045 The Zone TV checking in saying, I give that a D minus. You can be better. Okay, well,
He never lets up either.
at least he thinks I can be better. 615-737-1045. Rashad Weaver coming up in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Looking forward to catching up with
You
him.
you teased us about a tweet and Auburn and
Yes.
how bad they are there.
So how about Auburn doing Auburn things a week before college football begins? Alan Green, the athletic director, reportedly asking for clarity about his position with the Auburn Tigers and where he stands.
Because he felt something, right?
And was basically just told to take a hike. A
Wow.
mutual agreement, quote unquote. Essentially, what's happened here is that the same boosters that tried to oust Brian Harsin over the offseason have basically now won this version of the power struggle against Alan Green and the athletic department.
Wow.
And then the issue is, and you and I have gotten a front row seat at all of the things that have held Tennessee back
Yep.
over the course of the last 10 years.
Yep.
The reason why we feel better about Tennessee and feel like Tennessee is on stable footing is because the chancellor,
Yep.
the president, and the athletic director all seem to be rowing in the same direction.
Yes, sir.
And you brought in an athletic director in Danny White who has pretty much just said, I don't really care what you think to a lot of boosters.
Yeah, he has.
And has essentially said, I'm going to run this thing the way I'm going to run this thing. I'm not a Tennessee guy,
Right.
quote unquote, like a lot of the rest of you. Mm-hmm. And that's going to work in my favor.
Yep.
Auburn has the same issue Tennessee does. They want an Auburn guy.
Too many cooks.
They
in the
want an
kitchen.
Auburn man.
Yep.
If you can put the word man after the school, odds are you've got a dysfunctional environment.
Yep.
Like, we want a Michigan man. Like, no, you don't. You want
No,
somebody
you
that's
don't.
going to win 10 games.
Because
You want somebody that's going to beat Ohio State, like Auburn. You want somebody that's going to beat Alabama. They can
Yep.
be from the moon.
Mm-hmm.
I do not care. Why do they have to be an Auburn man and come in with this? The boosters running that athletic department reminds me of the past decade of Tennessee.
100%. And it looked like they're going to go down that road.
And they're
again.
going to keep doing it.
And what's so interesting, Will, behind this is most time administrators stay out of these type of situations, right? Like if Boise fires somebody, man, so be it. All right, that sucks, man. If if Vanderbilt fires somebody, oh man, that's tough. Nobody outwardly says anything. And Danny White tweeted. Do you have it? You want me to get it?
Oh, you got it.
I got it. Danny White actually, after Auburn released their Alan Green, their athletic director, he sent out a tweet 2 days ago that said, "Congratulations, Alan Green, for getting the heck out of a crazy situation for greener pastures. I admire how you managed that chaos with class and integrity. Look forward to seeing your next chapter."
I mean,
At
Look, I mean, I respect the hustle for Danny White. I respect the swagger. I think he's the perfect kind of jerk that Tennessee needs. Literally, that's kind of a jerk thing to say.
Yeah.
I do think Tennessee hasn't quite won enough yet where it matters.
Right.
To go ahead and take a victory lap about somebody else.
Yeah.
Because the last time Tennessee and Auburn played football, Auburn beat you, and Jarrett Garantano threw a pick six in the end zone to smoke Monday in Auburn, and that was the last taste in your mouth from a football perspective of playing Auburn.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you got one over on them in basketball. You won the SEC tournament. You beat them in Knoxville. It was an electric environment, but it's interesting. I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings about it because I like the energy from Danny White.
Me too.
I don't know if it's time yet for him to start taking that public of a victory lap when you haven't totally fixed your own house.
Gotcha. Maybe this is just him understanding, like, I understand what this is now. Danny White. Can I just put my orange tinted glasses on and say that?
Sure.
Maybe he sees the
I took
process
mine off.
actually
I'll let
coming
you put
together.
yours on.
Yeah, because you kind of dogged him right there. Let me play the other
A
side.
little bit.
Maybe it's him saying, I know where we're headed to, as a university.
Speaking it into existence.
Yeah. Because you're right. You don't take those shots when your house got a little mess inside of it, too.
Right. 615-737-1045 is the number. When we come back, we have got Ramon Foster's Titans preseason defensive MVP.
Yeah.
Who's going to hang out with us. Titans outside linebacker Rashad Weaver catches up with us. What has he learned over the offseason? How much better conditioned is he for the start of the season now versus when training camp began? We'll talk to him coming up next. We're live from 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic live at Greystone Golf Club. Four's up, ladies and gentlemen. Fourth quarter of the show. Coming up next, it's Ramona Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Are you tired of working for someone who doesn't see your potential or providing you with the opportunity to grow in your industry? It's Ramon Foster, and I know the company that can offer you the opportunity you are looking for. And they are Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is a small, locally owned company that is looking to get bigger, and you could be a part of that expansion. Become one of their service experts and receive, listen to me, medical, dental, and vision benefits, matching 401k, 2 weeks of paid vacation after the first year, holiday pay, company and factory training so you're prepared, and top pay within industry standards. You could become Spring Hill Heating and Cooling's next all-star, okay? Apply now at springhillac.com.
It is 9:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Titans ended the preseason with a come-from-behind 26-23 win over the Cardinals on Saturday night at Nissan Stadium. Malik Willis started and played most of the game, went 15 of 23 for 131 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Meanwhile, Logan Woodside 5 of 9 for 43 yards on the final drive of the game, scored on a run on 4th down from the 9-yard line with 52 seconds remaining to lift the Titans to the win.
Pressure coming. Woodside steps up. He'll run to the 5. He'll run to the end zone. Touchdown Titans. Logan Woodside with a sprint to the finish. He barely crossed the line, but it was enough to put the Titans in front.
And one of the other top performers from the game, Rashad Weaver, linebacker for the Titans, will be joining us momentarily here on Ramon and Will. Nolansville finished the Little League World Series in 4th place, falling to Chinese Taipei 2-0 on Sunday in the 3rd-place consolation game. And Vanderbilt cruised past Hawaii 63-10 Saturday night, the most points Vandy has scored against an FBS opponent since 1941. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour of the show this morning, live from Greystone Golf Club. It is Ramon and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors here in Nashville. Alongside 11-year NFL veteran Ramon Foster, involved for life. My name is Will Bowling. Jonathan Schaefer, our producer today. Titans finishing up the preseason with a 26-23 win over the Arizona Cardinals over the weekend. And we are pleased to be joined by Tennessee Titans outside linebacker Rashad Weaver this morning. What's going on, Rashad? How are you?
Good morning.
What's up with the guys? Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, man. That sounds like a pit panther to me if I ever heard one.
Oh, man, don't do that.
I
Don't
had
do
to.
Rashad, you're in good company
You
because unlike our friend Ron Slay, who you've spoken to in the past,
Yeah.
Ramon Foster does have a soft spot for just the city of Pittsburgh as a whole.
I
So
do.
You're amongst friends here.
Yeah, welcome
Yeah,
in, man.
I already know that, man. So,
Even though he's wearing orange
better
today,
not
you're
take
still
it
amongst
easy
friends.
on me.
No, we don't take it easy, man. Look, we'll keep our bet. We'll do it open air, too, okay? How about we do that real quick? You want to settle this?
Come on.
So, okay, loser of the game has to simply either put Go Vols or Hell to Pitt on their headline for a week. How about that for an open bet?
What's the headline?
You got to pin Go Vols at the top of your Twitter for a week if we beat you.
Oh, all right.
Okay?
All right.
And if
I'm on that.
if y'all beat us, I'll put Hell to Pitt.
When we beat y'all.
No.
Yeah.
See, all right, okay. See, now I'm taking
like
back
it.
my
Shout out.
preseason award.
Shout out Rashad on the tweet. I wanted to say that, too.
Okay, so we're adding that too. Okay, say
Yeah,
less.
yeah.
All right.
I'll send you what the tweet's gonna say. Okay, how about?
So Ramon
right.
will say shout out Rashad, and then you will have to say shout out at Ramon and Will.
Yep,
which
there
is
we
our
go.
show Twitter
Yep.
account.
You cool with that? Done deal. We
Yep.
settled this then. All right, so
Okay.
we won't even go into our pockets for nothing like this. This is all pride.
I respect it. I respect it.
But Rashad, man, Will and I had a segment that we say, MVPs of the preseason, man, and I had you as my defensive guy. We chatted just a little bit at camp here and there, man, and you had goals. Not to be that, but just in general, man, to prove that you belong in this league, man. How did you go about this preseason going into year 2?
Well, yeah, I appreciate that for real. Acknowledgement doesn't pay the bills, but I respect them, you feel me? So that's love.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just was what we talked about. I had little things I was focused on more about my own game, just trying to get back to what I felt like was myself before I got hurt, and then building off of that. You kind of have to put it into different categories. You can't just want to go in there and build to get to a certain level after being hurt without getting back used to playing football first. So I just really was focused on getting back to how I wanted to be before I tried to implement other things from film and stuff into my game from other players. And then once I got to where I felt like I wanted to be at myself, start really honing in on film from myself and other people that I could try to take into the game and things I just didn't like. So it all worked out smoothly. Those first 2 weeks were frustrating. As a competitor out there in camp, you want stuff to look how you want it to look. But when it doesn't, I just look forward to the next day to get out there and work on it. That's the best part about camp. You got another day coming up the next day to work on it.
Right.
Titans pass rusher Rashad Weaver with us here on Ramon and Will. Who are some of those guys that you watched closely over the last offseason, Rashad?
I mean, in the off season, I ain't gonna lie to you. While I was hurt, I didn't watch no one specifically. I just tried to take in as much ball as I could. Whether it was just watching college football or watching NFL football, just watching as much football as I can, and that just nothing beats that. That just gets you reps over and over. And then once you've made it to this level, no matter how hard you try, you can't really just sit back and enjoy a game. You're gonna be watching your position or certain positions and learning from it. So,
yeah. As far as your gameplay, man, one, the announcers always give you acknowledgement, as you said, man, but have you always just been that guy that found a knack for getting to the ball? Because that's one thing I even see, even on, I think it was in the third quarter, you just deflected the quarterback's arm on the pass. Like, some guys have that. Have you ever been told, like, look, man, like, you got a knack for the ball, or what's your process of getting to that point?
Yeah, I have. A lot of people say that. It's something, I'm glad people recognize it. It's something I always want to work on because, that's the most important part of the game is that football. If you can get to it, you put your team in the best position to succeed, and you put yourself in the best position to succeed. Because as a defender, there's nothing like getting that ball out or causing plays to happen, even if you weren't directly to get the ball out, the one directly to get the ball out. And it's just a motivator. As a D lineman, outside linebacker, we don't get to touch the running back. The quarterbacks, or go after the ball or reach and swat and stuff during practice. So you got to get it all out game day.
As somebody also that's his second year, this is your second NFL camp, man. One guy in particular we've all been keeping our eye on, man, is Nicholas Petit-Frere. And I'm sure you've had some one-on-ones with him. I'm sure you've had some run blocking drills against him, man. Can you speak on just his emergence and how you help him get better, and on the other side of that, him to you?
Yeah, coming as a rookie, he was, the first week, like any rookie would be, learning, trying to get up to speed, a lot on your plate, and then it was just every day getting better and better. Took the coaching, and I think people could probably see that in the preseason games, that he was getting better and better, and his work came in and just done what's asked of him. And yeah, there's been days where he's got me, and there's been days where I got him, and that's how it's always going to go. And he's no slouch of a player as a rookie. He's out there working.
Absolutely right. Rashad Weaver with us here on Ramon and Will. So, Rashad, I know you missed the 2019 season because of injury. You came back and you had a monster 2020, 7.5 sacks your last year at Pittsburgh. How did that year off in 19 kind of give you a different perspective for the first time, watching film from a different perspective and not being on the field every day? And how did that kind of prepare you for what you went through last season, kind of having to do that same thing and be a student of the game again?
Hey, we got to put an asterisk in there first. That 7.5 sacks, that was on that was in 8 or 9 games.
That's 9 games. No, you're right.
Yeah, that wasn't a full season, man. I would have gave y'all more, man. We got to make sure they know that.
You're right. I mentioned that. I mentioned that in the segment before we had you on. So you're right. I'll give you that for sure.
Nah, that was good. That's when I really learned patience. It was a little different process then. I was on the sideline, Coach Dews and those guys, being the leader on that team, they took care of me. I was on the sideline with a headset, really coaching and learning, which is a whole different perspective of it too. So that upped my game a lot. But I mostly learned patience. I'd say that translated from this past time, being injured. It's just doing what you can do, not worried about what's happened or what you can't do, and just being patient until it's time for you to get back out there. Because, even if it's a year away, it's still it's a set date. It's a year away. It's going to come back. So just working for that and just having an end goal so you don't get lost in that long time of being injured.
How important was it for you, Rashad, to play the whole game on Saturday night and continue that next step of your conditioning?
Yeah, very important. I got told that, and it was, okay, let's do this. It wasn't a problem. That's what I do. I play football, and I haven't played a whole football game since last preseason, so I wanted to see how I'd feel out there during it and how I'd feel afterwards. I ain't gonna lie, that's probably why I sounded like that when I woke up on the phone this morning. I was a little sore still, but I'll be all right.
Yeah, it's all part of the process, man. My guy said put an asterisk next to that 7
I love
and a
it.
half.
I love it.
Talk your stuff, man. That's what we're here
Feel
for this
me?
morning.
Yeah, if that was a full season, I would have been in there. You can't, you see, they might have been 7.5, man. It's 12 games. That ain't nothing.
I
Man.
love
Don't
it.
look at me like that.
Don't put 12 games behind that. No, that's 7. With that being said, though, as you know, like that confidence is huge, man. And I'll never forget being a part of that young guy group that kind of, when the older guys start looking at, hey, young fella, come kick it with us. Like you probably are starting to get some of that, man. And I say that to get to this point. Whenever you get into that rotation of active game day, and you have been before, but with Bud, with Harold, with Danico, with Jeff, and let's say if Harold or Bud needs a player or two off, like the expectation of yourself of being in that old school, in that big dog group, man, what's your mindset for that?
No fall off.
No fall off.
I'm doing at least what they're doing or trying to do more. You feel me? And when I say more, not in a bad way. You don't want to do too much to where you get hurt. But I mean, just like I said, no fall off, still making plays and doing my job. And it's not we got to get the starters off the field for this series and worry about what's going to happen while these twos are out here or the rotational guy, whoever it is. Instead, you're worrying about, okay, we're getting our starters a breath and we got somebody coming in that can make some shake just as much as them starters, and it's just going to be able to work off of each other whenever they need that.
Rashad, one last thing for you before we let you go. How confident is that front seven right now? The way you guys played last year, of course, but continuing that in the preseason. You, David, and Nenny, the disruption that you guys have had on that front seven through preseason has really continued the brand of what this defense was a year ago. I imagine you got to have a lot of confidence playing next to Big 98, Big Jeff right there next to you too.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to have it when you have him next to you. You look over there and you see what he does on the inside of that D-line. It's as a grown man doing that to other grown men. And so I ain't going to lie, he might have that little 2K badge that boosts your teammates' confidence. You got him on your side.
I love it.
You got him on your side. But, it's good. All those guys up and down that line make plays, are top players on our team and in this league. And when you're around better players, you play better. As a younger player, sometimes stuff start happening fast. Might get a little flustered or miss a call just as a young player, and they'll fix that or handle that or help you as best they can. It ain't their job to fix it, but when they're a vet in there and they've done this over and over, they can kind of calm you down and keep everything simple out there and just make plays so that confidence just grows as a whole. Instead of just one person having it, it takes over the whole defensive line, outside linebackers, into the whole defense, and it works its way up to the team, and that's the end goal, I think, really.
I really don't feel okay with you saying the grown man moving other grown men considering this offensive lineman, but I'm going to let you have your segment, though.
Guards, too, though.
No.
There it is.
See,
it ain't
the
even
rivalry.
tackles, it's the guards.
The rivalry's going way beyond just Tennessee Pitt. I love it. I'm here for it, Rashad. Man, I love it. Rashad Weaver been our guest here on Ramona Will this morning. We will look forward to talking with you in a couple weeks, Rashad, for this Tennessee Pitt bet. And somebody's going to be pinning a tweet here in a couple weeks. We're looking forward to it.
Pin a tweet.
Bold, too. All bold letters.
He keeps adding to it.
Next, we're going to have him disrespecting offensive linemen in that tweet.
Yeah,
too,
don't ever call out guards like that, okay, Rashad? We cool, man.
You can call out Ramon Foster's alma mater. Calling out guards is tougher.
It's all good. You're supposed to do that. Yeah, you should do that, okay? It's all good.
Man, Rashad, we'll let you go. Appreciate the time this morning.
No doubt.
Hey, appreciate y'all, man. Have a good morning, and I'll talk to y'all soon.
No doubt.
All right, there he is, Rashad Weaver. All right, well, good publicity. We've got people now that are going to have to cheer for Tennessee because of the publicity of the show.
Yeah.
Rashad Weaver tagging at Ramon and Will if Tennessee wins.
Boo them on Saturday, cheer them on Sundays, baby.
That's right. That's right. Coming up next, we'll continue the Titans discussion. John Glennon of SI.com joins us. He gave 10 Titans whose stock are up after the preseason yesterday, and a couple of them are in line with the MVPs Ramon Foster and I gave early this morning. We'll get his thoughts on the punter battle, on where Malik Willis stands, and on one guy on the defense that I think has surprised all of us in taking a step forward and making this team at the linebacker position. Coming up next, John Glennon of SI.com. It's Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone. Hour number 4 of the show, Ramona Will, powered by all 4 seasons on 104.5 The Zone. Live today for 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic. Appreciate Jackalope Brewing, Edley's Barbecue, Brentwood Jewelry. All of our terrific partners making today happen here in Dixon, alongside of Owen Foster, Will Boulding with you. Good conversation with Titans edge rusher Rashad Weaver. Check that one out wherever you listen to podcasts immediately after the show today. As we are joined now on the Mark Spaden Real Estate Hotline by John Glennon, covering the Titans for SI.com. Good morning, John. How are you?
Morning.
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
Good.
We are good. Just got done talking with Rashad Weaver. Ramon Foster made him his preseason defensive MVP earlier on in the show. Hard to disagree with that, the way that guy has played, isn't it?
Absolutely. Excellent choice, I thought. And really, kind of illustrated there in that last preseason game, I thought, too. We hear Mike Vrabel often talk about Rashad Weaver's kind of relentless effort and so forth. And really, I mean, when a guy plays all 71 defensive snaps of a preseason game, pretty good indication of kind of the effort he's given. And, to sort of top that off, there were 2 plays left in the game. Rashad Weaver is still charging after the quarterback, causes an intentional grounding with 2 plays left, and he's played every single defensive snap of the game. So, and certainly he was filling up the stats in terms of quarterback hits, passes, defense, caused a fumble. I thought really an excellent preseason for Rashad Weaver.
No doubt about him, and it kind of says a whole lot, too, about the maturity of this kid as he's grown as a pro, to say, look, and he said it on our show, like, I wanted to see how I would feel after playing that many, and I think a lot of people forget he had the ACL injury, so have you seen a young guy like him come through to say, yeah, this kid is really understanding what a pro is?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think, the Titans coaching staff has talked a lot about, what Weaver did last year after the injury, how he still tried to stay so involved, asking questions, watching film, and so forth. But, we all know it's a different animal once you get back out on the field. And there's just been no let-up on Rashad Weaver's part. We mentioned those 71 snaps, but each of those preseason games, there was something you could point at in that stat sheet, as they say, whether it was a quarterback kick or a tackle for loss, a batted pass, anything like that, just kept, coming and coming. And the Titans are pretty stacked at that edge position. But, with the way Weaver has played, you have to figure out a way to get him, a little bit of rotation time because he's an impact guy.
John Glennon with us here on Ramon and Will. John, you had a piece, 10 guys whose stock is up after preseason. And speaking of those edge rushers, another one of those guys you mentioned, David Aneni, the undrafted player out of Houston, really had a lot of noise and was maybe the surprise to me of a guy I didn't expect to be as good as they were. How impressed were you? Do you feel like he's kind of locked into a spot at this point?
I think he is right on the bubble, if you will.
Okay.
He was. Wow. When you look at guys, undrafted free agents that the Titans gave a lot of guaranteed money to, Aneni was at the top of the list. So, I think clearly the Titans and probably some other teams thought highly of him as an undrafted free agent. But, you look at each of those games and you saw the kind of things he was doing. Every game there was some kind of impact, whether it was a sack. He wound up with 3 sacks in the preseason, a forced fumble, 2 passes defense, 3 quarterback hits. He didn't necessarily get a ton of reps, but when he was in there, he made a difference. And again, just as we said with Weaver, that edge position is pretty stacked for the Titans, but he has made a real case to keep him on the 53. If for no other reason that some other teams might be saying, hey, look at the numbers this guy put up in the preseason. We better keep this guy. The Titans are saying we better keep this guy in the 53 because there's a chance, he doesn't slip through to the practice squad.
Elsewhere in the defense, John, Joe Jones hunting down Andy Isabella on a 74-yard gain was not something that was on my bingo card for the final game of Tennessee Titans preseason. That to me is a quintessential Mike Vrabel play. We mentioned earlier the Jonnu Smith chase down tackle that he made after an interception that Mike Vrabel praised at length after that game a couple of years ago. Where does Joe Jones stand right now in this kind of crowded inside linebacker room and the opportunity that's there for those guys with Monty Rice on PUP?
Yeah, exactly. I think that is a real opportunity because somebody's going to have to step in there. You've got Zach Cunningham, you've got David Long as your starter certainly, but there's a lot of uncertainty beyond that, and I think Joe Jones really laid a claim to one of those spots. And we all saw that great hustle on the tackle, tracking down Andy Isabella after 74 yards, but that was not the only Joe Jones contribution. As we know, during the preseason, he had the big interception against Tampa Bay, and you look at his numbers too. There are 6 tackles against the Ravens, 4 against Tampa, 6 against Arizona, and just for good measure, Joe Jones 46 special team snaps over the course of 3 games in the preseason. So I think it would be tough to move beyond Joe Jones at this point. He's another guy too that has at least a little bit of experience in the system, having played last year, as opposed to the rookies like Campbell and also Jack Gibbons as well. So I think Joe Jones is set up pretty well for a roster spot right now.
Glennon, we figured out who's going to be the starting right tackle, and in that, I saw this past game against the Cardinals, Dylan Radins worked left guard and right guard, which kind of tells me he may be the interior swing guard, guy that needs more reps at those positions. With that being said, where are you on O-line depth at tackle? I know our 2 starters, but where are you with who's behind them? Because anything can happen on a weekend or during the week.
Really, Ken, at this point, even though Dylan Radins was playing guard, I still have to think, with the experience he has, I have to think he is still the swing tackle at this spot, maybe just showing even further versatility by getting some guard reps there. But so I still think that he is number 3. You got Jamarco Jones, who's played a little bit of guard and a little bit of tackle as well. So I think he could probably help out in a pinch. And then, beyond that, you kind of wonder, whether your next guy, are you trying to bolster that guard position, because you're uncertain about Nate Davis and Jamarco Jones' health. If that's the case, maybe you keep a guy like a Jordan Roos, who got an awful lot of snaps in the preseason. If you do say, okay, I want some more tackle, depth, are you looking at a guy like a McKenzie? Are you looking at a guy like a Christian DeLauro? Or, certainly a possibility we're going to see all kinds of players get cut, throughout the league. Maybe there's a guy that is not on the roster right now that winds up getting added by the Titans to sort of bolster that tackle spot.
As far as depth charts go for opening day, do you look at that cornerback 2 position and still kind of say to yourself, Caleb Farley / Roger McCreary?
Yeah, I honestly lean towards McCreary a little bit in there. I just think sort of the way that the preseason played out, I think, there was kind of more resting of Roger McCreary in terms of, the kind of thing you might do for a guy who was going to be a starter. I still think Caleb Farley is in a little bit of catch-up mode. Only 60 defensive snaps all of last year. So I think there just needs to be more experience gained, more reps, whereas, Roger McCreary, was playing so much the last 2 years in the SEC, and he was so productive. I would not be surprised at all if you start out with Fulton and McCreary on the 2 outside spots, and then in the nickel situation, Farley comes in and moves McCreary into the inside. So we'll see. It still may be Farley, but I just kind of like McCreary from a production standpoint and from a standpoint of he has just played so regularly, the last couple of years. Well, as I say, Farley, there's still a little bit of catching up in my opinion.
John Glennon with us here on 104.5 The Zone. Malik Willis takes another step forward, John, over the weekend. How would you evaluate his performance? How far do you feel like he's come since that opening game against Baltimore?
Yeah, I thought it was definitely his best performance, and I think there's been a good bit of progress, and I think I enjoy looking at the Pro Football Focus stats from time to time, and I thought there's a good one. There's a good one here on Willis, in my opinion. After the first preseason game, you looked at the average time to throw from Malik Willis. It was 4.37 seconds, way, way, way above anybody in the NFL.
Wow.
After the second week, that average was down to 4.05 seconds. It took him the time to throw the football. And by the end of the preseason, after Saturday's game, we're down to 3.72 seconds time to throw the football now. And that's a pretty – when you drop from about 4.4 to about 3.7, that may not sound like a lot, but that's a pretty significant change, in something that was a big priority for Malik Willis, and that was getting rid of the ball quickly. So I think he's getting rid of the ball quicker. I think in terms of scrambling, we saw him moving more towards the line of scrimmage, climbing the pocket, and instead of kind of that default mode of just heading downfield, he was keeping the eyes downfield. And I thought really a perfect example of that was that 27-yard throw to Racey McMath. He gets out of the pocket. He's rolling right, and he could have easily kept the football, probably gained 5-10 yards on a run. Instead of doing that, those eyes are downfield. He sees Racey, and all of a sudden, what might have been a 5 or 10-yard run turns into a 27-yard pass pickup. So I thought some real significant steps showed by Malik Willis. And certainly Mike Vrabel and the coaching staff have talked about his eagerness to learn, his willingness to learn, and I think we saw some concrete steps in that direction in Game 3.
The reality everybody knows is coming, but nobody really wants to face. This Ryan Stonehouse versus Brett Kern situation. How are you viewing it? Good, bad, or indifferent?
That is it's a tough call. I certainly at the start of, the off season or even the start of training camp, I would have thought it was going to be a real long shot for, Ryan Stonehouse to knock off Brett Kern, a 14-year vet, 3-time Pro Bowler, and kind of, so many contributions for the Titans in the last few years. But how do you not keep Ryan Stonehouse, I think, at this point with the kind of leg that he has shown, and you look at it obviously in terms of the age too and what Ryan Stonehouse might do for the next how many years, 8, 10 years, whatever it might be. Now, if you want to make an argument for Kern, you can certainly say he has got the edge still in that directional punting, the ability to avoid touchbacks and to pin teams deep. But Stonehouse, I think, improved in that area, to the point that he was getting more inside the 20 and fewer touchbacks as we went along. And then when you just look at the potential he has to sort of flip the field on a regular basis, I think it's a tough call not to take Ryan Stonehouse at this point. But, boy, you wonder, if indeed Brett Kern does get released, where does he end up? Is it Buffalo, another AFC contender there, or even, might it be Indianapolis, which lost its, starting punter a week or two ago? They have since signed a punter, but certainly if a guy like Brett Kern is there, do the Colts pick up a Brett Kern, and the Titans all of a sudden see Brett Kern a couple times this year, pinning them deep a time or two? Not a pretty scene. So, but boy, Stonehouse, really some potential there. Tough to say no to him.
John, one more for you. Did Des Fitzpatrick affect his spot on the team with a drop on the final drive on Saturday night?
I have to think he probably did, and I don't think that was the only catchable pass that Des did not bring down as well on Saturday night. And if you're the Titans, it was almost, you kind of gave him a second chance this year. He was one of the off-season award winners for the Titans. He kind of showed some promise from time to time, but boy, those are the opportunities that you have to take advantage of if you're in Des Fitzpatrick's spot. And, I have to think that either he does not make the 53, or honestly, even if Des Fitzpatrick makes the 53, that may be a situation that's in flux. And, when other receivers are released, this week or even potentially later after week 1, that might mean Des Fitzpatrick's time is very short if indeed he makes the 53. So, Yeah, a tough way to finish the preseason for sure for Des Fitzpatrick.
Real quick, great finish to the game, but too little too late for Logan Woodside, though?
I think probably so. You know, at the beginning of training camp, I certainly was of the opinion the Titans were going to have 3 quarterbacks. And then I thought Malik Willis, this would be more or less a redshirt season for Malik Willis, you know, as he learned and Logan Woodside was more ready, to step in for Ryan Tannehill. But I think the combination of Willis playing very well, and unfortunately for Woodside, maybe it was a little bit of a pressure situation, but I don't think we saw kind of the same Logan Woodside this preseason and in training camp as we did the past year or two. So that combination leads me to believe the Titans probably let him go and, certainly hope that Logan Woodside clears waivers and he winds up on the practice squad. That way, you have him in that emergency type situation. But to me, that was one disappointment, in that we didn't see the best of Logan Woodside maybe until that very last drive. So nice of him to have an exclamation point, but tough preseason overall for Logan Woodside.
John Glennon has been our guest here this morning on Ramon and Will, covering the Titans for SI.com. Find him on Twitter at Glennon Sports. John, always good stuff. Appreciate
Absolutely.
Okay, appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right, there he is. When we come back, I hope you didn't blink today. If you did, you probably missed just a 4-hour radio show.
Yeah.
Maybe the fastest show we've done, Ramon Foster.
It may
Who's
be.
to say, really?
Clocks usually stay the same, but it felt fast, though. It's like me and my 40 time. It felt fast.
Okay, all right.
Far too slow.
Thank you. We'll finish it up. Coming up next, Ramon and Will, powered by all 4 seasons, 104.5 The Zone.
There's
All
Matt
right,
Prater.
we haven't scored a point since I came in here. I am gone, guys.
What?
That's
No,
it?
we got a couple more questions.
out.
No, that's it.
Peace out by the GM. Wow.
Well, I will say this, Dan. My beloved Aunt Mary always told me, Charles, I love you, but you can mess up a one-car funeral.
That's going to be me in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Chuck the deuces, man.
Ramona Will, 104.5 The Zone. Broadcasting live from Greystone Golf Club today
Is it
for the
wrong?
104.5 The Zone Summer Golf Classic.
That I felt like that was the highlight of the game. Was
100%.
J-Rob on TV,
It was up there.
just dropping the deuces and just, I'm out.
I
I'm
love
out.
the
That
I
and
love
the
the
Malik
joke.
50-yard scramble.
I
Yeah.
love the joke from Charles Davis a couple minutes later. Said, hey, my family tells me, okay, I could mess up a one-car funeral, okay? And I just, with my questions, messed up John Robinson. Okay, he's out of here. All right, Dan Helly, okay? All right. Man, I'll tell you what. All right, 3rd down and 5. Okay, John Robinson. Hey, he's a great guy.
Charles.
Okay, who's his punter going to be? I don't know. All right? That's literally what happened. Thanks, Charles. Good to see you this morning.
Is going to kick you in the face when he
He
sees
goes, I
you.
could mess up a one-car funeral. Okay, man. Goodness, I got family members texting me. Okay.
We're never getting
That is
Charles.
the first time that Jonathan Schaefer actually didn't think I was a total nuisance, which I'm going to keep talking because he's going to contend that if I don't stop talking.
Both
but
the
it was
first
literally
and
it was
last
like
time
a
I
couple,
respected you.
It was a couple months into me working at the station.
Yeah.
And I did my Charles Davis impression because he's the voice of Madden as well.
He is.
So you get a lot of practice listening to Charles Davis talking about you throwing for 500 yards in a game on Madden. And Schaefer was like, okay, I guess I can tolerate this guy.
He
works with me now.
Hey, so Charles, what do you think about the Vols this year, Charles?
Hey, I tell you what, okay, Hendon Hooker, okay, he's got Heisman odds. Okay, I tell you what, it's been a long time on Rocky Top. Us Vols, we stick together. Okay, talking to my VFLs, we're talking about this team, and hey, okay, they really think we've come a long way. There's an excitement on Rocky Top, Dan Helly. Okay, all right. It's been a long time since I was playing for Coach Gruden in Rocky Top, but I think now they got a little swagger, Ramon Foster.
Charles Davis is never coming on our show, just so you know.
No, Charles is legitimately of the, and I say this with complete honesty,
solid, though,
of
man.
like the top 5 nicest human beings
He
that I've
is.
ever been around in this business.
Yeah.
Charles Davis is probably 1 or 2 on that list.
Go Vols,
It's him
man.
and John Wilkerson, the voice of the base Vols.
Yeah.
Sports Radio, WNML. And
What's
Knoxville.
crazy is you're mentioning his crutch words, though. All
Okay.
right? Okay.
I tell you what.
I tell you what. That is his. Man, the voice of Madden, though. Imagine
That's so
being
cool,
that.
man. That's so cool.
How many units are sold? Like 65 million units are sold, something like that?
It's a bad video game, but it is like I
They
play
do
it
numbers.
Every year. It does.
What is that royalty check like, Will?
Oh God.
God. We got to get in on that Charles Davis.
Wait
How
a
do
minute,
we-
Moan. Didn't you get some Madden money when you played in the NFL?
Yeah, I did. Clearly not enough
Yeah,
because mine
you got
ended.
to play with yourself on the video game.
I
Yeah,
did
because
get
you
to
got some NIL money from that.
I did get some NIL money from that, but Charles is getting it every year at this point, man.
Not bad.
I'd love to see that. I love to see that recording of him. I wonder, is it just like they have his stock voice? Like we've had him on the show. It's like we didn't ask him about that, and I'm a little upset.
Yeah.
The fact that we didn't. Hey, did they just like steal your voice and just basically use
Like
somebody
the voice
else?
of Siri.
Yeah, because they'll have like, look
create
at
it.
that 3rd and 7. You're like, how do you know this is 3rd and 7, Charles Davis?
Or even better yet, when it's like a 3rd and 22. I can tell you what, a 3rd and 22. Okay, playbook shrunk down a bit. Okay, you don't have a lot of options here. All right, 3rd down.
What's wrong with you, dog? Let's tease tomorrow, man. Tomorrow, I do want to get deeper into the discussion about this O-line depth, too.
I agree.
I sent you guys a screenshot, man, as far as Dylan Radins going to the right side, also as far as being a guard. The conversation about him being an interior guy more than he is an outside guy, too.
And I think we can say at this point that if there's one position where the Titans might get to 51 or 50 on the roster in order to bring in somebody from the street, I think that happens at offensive line.
I do, too.
And I think it specifically happens, and you go get a 30-year-old tackle somewhere that didn't make the team as a swing tackle elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because if I'm Mike Vrabel, if I'm Keith Carter, if I'm Todd Downing, I want Dylan Radins focusing on learning one position and one position only.
Because he has to at this point.
Buddy, you're no longer plan B at tackle. We're going to go find a plan B. That way you can work on playing guard.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that'll be it'll be in this team's advantage to actually start that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And not just that, man. These safeties, tomorrow's cut day Ish gets very real fast tomorrow, dog.
Sure.
Cut day is real, man. I know, of course, we'll celebrate it because we're getting close to the season. But some careers completely end tomorrow about 3 o'clock Central, man.
That's right.
Is that tough?
That
we shouldn't have ended it that way.
It's going to be a little dark. Dark way to end it.
It is.
I will give Lucas Panzica credit because he bet the over on Buck Rising's arrival time today at over 9:57:30. Buck Rising is here and in the building.
At 9:53.
And the Buck Rising show is coming up next. Special thanks to you guys for hanging out with us. 104.5 The Zone's 2022 Summer Golf Classic continues today from Greystone Golf Club. We got a lot of great sponsors. We got a lot of great golfers making their way around the course, losing golf balls in Dixon, Tennessee. Special thanks to Rashad Weaver, John Glennon for joining us today. Back at it again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Ramon Foster with a word for the people of Nashville on the way out from Dixon, Tennessee.
Your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.
We'll see you